Hi. Sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties, but I'm here. I just can't see you guys, so I got logged out of everything for some reason, and now I can't see. I don't know. There's an error. So if you can see me and hear me, I hope. Let's see. It looks like I'm on Twitch. Okay, great. So I'm just looking for the chat right now. So bear with me a second. Let's see if I can do this. I didn't expect that to happen. Yeah, I can't see my chat right now. So let's go somewhere else and look at it. Right here, maybe? I can't see my chat right now. So all right, let's mute myself because that's awkward. Hi, Malin. I can see. Okay, now I can see that. All right, all right. Welcome to live chat. All right, let's see. Cool. I think I can see you guys now. Happy Saturday. I don't know what that was all about. I'll have to figure it out later because it's not like I can test some of that stuff when I'm not live, you know, and then it happens when I go live. So it's very awkward that way. So, anyway, let me know you can hear me and see me okay. I'm going to use all the cameras today, I think, because at the last second I was like, oh, I need to set up my machine for buttons and buttonholes for the end of this dress. So we are making the children's daisy dress by Poppy and Jazz, which is sounds like an offshoot of So Over at London. Hi, Rachel. How's it going? Let me switch my windows now, too, because I didn't plan on my chat being over here. I planned on it being over there. Yeah, I think I want to leave that. I hate it when it says, are you sure you want to do that? You're like, I don't know. Am I sure? I don't really like those kinds of questions, to be honest. All right, let's see. Where can I put you guys? Let's see. I can't see. I can't see. All right, here we go. I'll try that. Try to make that smaller. This is complicated business, you guys. I just want to sew. All right, so let's see. We are making this a cute little daisy dress, little Peter Pan collar. It's got a button back opening, which if you have a baby that's sleeping on their back, you can probably convert to a front opening. Just put the back on the fold at the center, and then on the front, cut it down the center front pattern piece, and then add a button extension, like 3/4 of an inch plus seam allowance, something like that, like an inch. Add an inch. Then you can do your button opening on the front, which you might find more convenient when you're dressing your baby as well. So there's options there. There's 3/8 inch seam allowance, and I think I'm going to have time to sew a lined version as well. Yeah, you look even really busy, Rachel. Those jammies are cute. That's fun that they come in men's and women's too, which is great. We are making this dress out of this really cute cat print. Look at these little cats. I know there's a lot of dog lovers out there, but I really love a good cat print. These cats, I mean, look at him. He's like hanging off the leaf. It's so cute. And then I cut a second one so I can do a lined version. And I'm going to show you how I did that. So you cut the collar as is. You cut 2 fronts on the folds. So you have 2 on the fold there. I didn't get fancy with my fabric. You cut your sleeve the same, your little like sleeve thingy. I don't know what that is. It's a little like flutter sleeve, you know. You cut 4 backs, just like that. And then I added some interfacing. Wait, didn't I add some interfacing? I added interfacing to the skirt. That's the skirt. Oh, maybe I didn't add interfacing. Didn't I add interfacing to this? What did I do with those? I'll go look for those pieces. You cut your front skirt right here. You cut 2 of those. Just cut your skirts the same, but I did do one little trick on the back skirt. I combined the facing. This is just for the one I'm going to do that's fully lined. Hi, Barb Quilting. Hi, Maribel. I know those cats are cute, aren't they? Yeah, right, Rachel? I know. I bet that's hard to keep a secret. So I just combined these two pattern pieces only for the one I'm going to do that's fully lined, because I'm just showing you like a way to streamline the pattern a little bit, because kids' clothes is so easy. Oh, I just scratched myself. I didn't even notice. I was totally calm. Everything was going good. I cut out an extra dress. My husband was here fixing my scanner because I just got a new printer yesterday, and I don't know why, but it's not hooking up. And he was like, I'll help you fix that. I was like, really? Okay. I'm not one of those wives that has their husband do everything. I've never felt comfortable with that. But I'm so jealous of people that are just like, oh, can you do this for me? Can you fix that? And so when he offered, I was like, sure, thanks, you know. And he actually got it working, so that's awesome. And then I went to go live and it logged me out of everything. So I was like, they're like, you need to be logged in. I was like, I am logged in. So that's why I lost my chat. So I'm sorry if you're watching on Twitch. Let's see, maybe I can pull up my Twitch window down here. I know there's not a lot of folks on Twitch usually, but I don't want to miss you guys. So I'll put it right here and hopefully I'll see it. I can do that, yeah. So anyway. So I am going to make this as the pattern states, and then I'm going to make one that's lined bodice, and then you don't have to cut the front facings, the back facings, or the binding. So, right, Rachel? I bet. So on this lined one, I combined the little facing on the skirt. I just overlapped it 3/4 of an inch because that's the seam allowance on both those pieces, and then cut it as one. So you can see this one goes a little bit longer, like that. And then these are all the interfacing for the skirt that you need. But where did did I not cut interfacing? Maybe it says it in the directions to cut interfacing for this right here, because, oh, I know why, because there's a facing on the unlined version and there's not on this one. So I'll cut some interfacing in there before I put the buttons and buttonholes. Okay, so let's just set aside all my pieces for the lined one if we have time. Here's my collar. I'll set all these aside right here. I love sewing kids' clothes. I feel bad, like what if I do have a baby in my life and I can't think of the baby right now? But I don't think I have any babies in my life. And to be honest, I really didn't actually sew a lot of kids' clothes when my kiddo was little, you know, so. Oh, that's cool. That'll be awesome, Rachel. All right, so let's see. Let's see what the directions say to do first, and I'll try and do it in the same order. Like I've been trying to do that more, you know, but sometimes I have to like look at the instructions a lot. So, you know. I can see my video on so many screens right now. It's kind of... Oh, I need to iron my interfacing. So we'll do that first. I got a new iron yesterday. Didn't want to have to do it, but I did. All right, so I'm going to add it to these pieces here. The collar. I'm going to add it to the collar, the skirt, and the facings here. So after all that talk about irons, you guys, I just went and got exactly what I've always used. So I got the exact same Rowenta. And here's partly my rationale. When I didn't really research it, I'm going to admit. Like I didn't sit there and, because I didn't really plan on it, and I was out and about. I went to the campfire memorial yesterday for the anniversary. And I was like, you know what? I have to get the printer. And I might as well look at irons because mine is failing. So, oh, good, Heather. I'm so glad. That's awesome. And so I decided, okay, you know, I'm just going to get an iron. I'm going to see what Best Buy has. I kind of figured they'd have some options. I'm going to make that less bright because I feel it's really bright. And then I was looking at they only had Shark. Let's see, how do I do this? They only have Shark irons, and I don't know anything about it. No one said anything about Shark irons in all the times we've talked about them. So I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to take a chance on that. And then I went to Target and I was like, well, there's my Rowenta that I've gotten. I literally get it at Target, you know, and it's a good iron. I really love it. I did look up some information, and this is one of the things I didn't really catch the subtle nuance of, is a lot of people who like the Oliso are crafters and quilters. So their ironing needs are a little different. Whereas this Rowenta is built for people who do clothing and need the steam. You know, and I know the Oliso does that, but that's what they say. Plus, the really obvious thing is the price difference. I think that Oliso is really expensive. And where's my other iron facing? What the heck? I just am not one of those people that feels like I need to buy the most expensive thing. I am definitely known for getting really nice things, but at the same time, this is something I'm going to use this a lot. So the Rowenta is always $90 or $80. Wait, 80 or 90, I can't remember. This works so nice. It's exactly what it cost the last time I bought it. So that's kind of funny. Where's my interfacing piece? All right, I need this chat to show up better. There we go. Do we see my little interfacing piece? Did it fall? Huh. Did I only cut one? It's very likely I only cut one. Yeah, so that was my rationale. And here's the deal. Like, if I eventually really do want to, like, I hear about an iron, I'm like, oh yeah, that's really going to up my game. My one at home is also showing its age since I got them both about the same time. I'll just give my home this one and I'll get the other one. You know what I mean? So that's my plan. I don't need to buy a $500 iron. It would be nice to have, but I don't really feel like it's going to change things so drastically. I can't live without it. All right, so this little padding piece can stay there. Here's my skirt. I don't think this fabric is one way. I love ironing interfacing on this felt thing because even if you get the interfacing on it, it works really good. I got myself a little tiny one. Can you see it's right here? For when I travel. Not travel, but like sew away from home. So Heather, you're the one with the Rowenta as well, right? You and I are the ones that have this iron or similar. One of the things I saw was do the self-clean every 2 weeks. And I live somewhere where there's a lot of hard water. I'm definitely going to be better about that because it's not something that was ever on my radar before I lived here. And it's really easy to do, so I'm definitely going to be better about that. All right, let me see. I think I might have, yeah, I do. I have interfacing right here. Oh, I might as well iron these as well, huh? Is this big enough? No. Oh, so lenti. I thought I remembered cutting out both. You know I'll find this later. That's awesome, Rachel. A supermarket iron. What does that mean? Yeah, I know. I just hacked that. Here's a rotary knife. All right. Perfect. All right, so here's my other version. these pieces here. So what are you guys doing this weekend? I'm getting kind of excited about the bodice thing. So you know what I think I'm gonna do? I think I'm gonna do it on my dress form so that you can see me doing it on something that we can fit together. I know the dress form's tiny and it won't work for me, but hey, I have my own block. I just need to update it. Okay, we have that. I'm going to need some so that's the other thing. For this lined version, you're only going to need, you don't need the interfacing for the facings, this one or this one. You would only need it a little piece right here. So let's see. I have this pile of scissors sitting here because I need to go through them all. Here. I'm like trying to make this work. I don't know why I'm rushing right now. Probably need to chill out, huh? Yay, awesome. Oh, it's our own brand. That's so funny. Oh, okay, Rachel. I'm so glad, Malin. I think it'll be fun. Why is this mat so wonky? I stopped ironing on my mat. Alright, so I'm gonna cut this one here. So this is my lined bodice, and I just need a little piece of interfacing back here, and I think I'm just gonna do it about an inch. And I need 2 of them. There's a slight neck shape. It's not a big deal if you don't get that neck shape perfectly though, because it'll fall still within the 3/8 inch seam allowance. All right, we've got all our pieces now. I'm hoping we get to do this one because it would be actually kind of satisfying to sew it. There we go. And sewing, is that not the one? It's just, oh, it is, okay. Sewing kids' clothes is so satisfying anyway. Great gift. It's a great thing to gift. It's fast to knit or sew, which is great. Those aren't cut that great, are they? Oh, nice. You're doing your Morgan jeans? Yeah, you got this, Malin. I know it. All right. Okay, so this is our lining one. Okay, I think we're good. Heather, are you, because I've seen your Instagram profile, so is that what you do? Do you make and sell kids' clothes? Oh, bummer, Rachel. But, you know, you can, oh, awesome, Maribel. Yeah, I mean, if you can do it live, you can do it with us, but you can always rewatch it, just watch it through, ask all your questions, you know, so it's going to be very interactive. It's not going to be me just sitting here doing it and not looking to see if you guys have questions. So make sure you ask your questions. If you're shy about talking in chat, because I know there's a few of you that like to watch and not really chat, publicly, you can send me an email and then I can address your question at the next stream. So I understand that. So I'm going to do the measurements. So I said I'd have the measurements ready for you by yesterday, but then I forgot about, I didn't know there was a memorial downtown for the anniversary of the campfire. And when I learned that, I wanted to do that. And then I got a printer, and that kind of fouled the rest of my day up. So I decided, like, as I'm doing, like, preparing all the stuff for that, it's making me look at certain aspects of it, which might be the easiest for you guys and the most successful. And I think, like, that's why I'm going to do it on a dress form, so you can see. And also, I'm going to measure with you, so you don't have to have all your measurements done by the time we start. So we'll measure on Wednesday, and we're going to talk a lot about things and maybe get ready. Talk about tools and what you might want to have handy. And then Thursday we'll do the front, and Saturday we'll do the back. That's my plan. So yeah, Heather, I mean, if you're not using an industrial machine, it's going to be hard to do production anything. It makes a big difference. It's just the truth. It's just the one thing, like every time I meet another sewist, like when I would be at shows, like other like competitors, I always made friends with all the competitors. There's only a few that were like not interested in that kind of dynamic. And eventually, you know, we always talked about what equipment, do we have employees, like how are we getting stuff done, what our biggest struggles were, because I always really liked talking business and finding out and sharing information. And that was the one thing I would be like, yeah, you know, you might really like industrials. And I know of 3 people who switched to industrials because of me and then emailed me and said, yeah, I can't believe I didn't do that sooner. So, hate to say it, but it's kind of true. All right, I'm going to do French seams on this little guy. Or shall I say little girl? Let's get these skirts out of the way right here. We have our sleeves. We have our collars. We have our back facing collars. We have our front facing. We have our skirt facing. We're ready. Hi, Brown Sugar. How's it going? That machine you got looks so cool. I have never heard of that kind of machine. A jack. I meant to look it up. I'm gonna look it up because I really want to know. People ask me for machine recommendations, and I'm not an expert on all that. I just know what I know and what works for me. And I've looked at getting walking foots and single needle feeds, and didn't end up doing it because I realized I didn't really need to. So. Okay, so French seams. All right, what do you think, you guys? I can serge this, but I can't. Well, I actually can do a serger camera. Let's see how my serger camera looks right now. Nope, that's not it. Which one is it? It's this one right now. Let's see if I can do the serger camera. I think I can, except that is it upside down? Is that what's going on? I did this last second. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. I'll do a serger. Okay. Is that okay with you guys? Oh, yeah, Rachel. That is tough. I mean an industrial sewing machine, Heather. It doesn't matter what brand you get. You don't have to get a Juki. That's what mine is. But like Brown Sugar just got one I'd never seen before. Something called a jack. So, you know, Brown Sugar, mine, I can dial down the speed. I don't technically recommend doing that because you're going to get used to it. I promise. Unless it has a really jumpy start, you know, then you might want to dial it back a little bit. But mine, and it's represented with a little turtle and a rabbit. Oh, Heather, I see. I'd never heard of that. So is it a baby lock? Yeah, so Heather, if you ever want to go down that route with an industrial, you can buy a used industrial for like $300. That's what my main machine at Chicken Boots, $300 machine I bought. And you can, now they've gone up in price because they're so sought after. It's the 5,800 or something like that. If you're serious, you can just ask me and I'll go look. You're not in the West, are you? But $800 you can get a really awesome single needle industrial machine with electronics. I totally recommend the electronics. So I really feel like you can do that. You don't need to buy used or new. Mine, this one was $1,800 new. That's still less than some home sewing machines. It just doesn't have all the other stitches. So, all right, you guys. I think I'm going to serge these together. French seams would be nice, but we're not heirloom kids sewing kids' clothes. It's a funny thing to heirloom kids' clothes. Maybe if it's like a gown, like a christening gown or something special in a family. But I always see that and I'm like, huh, they're gonna spit on it and poo on it. And you're gonna put it away or give it away, you know? So yeah, Rachel, exactly. All right, let's put the serger. Nope, not the serger. I'm sorry. It's misnamed right now. We can do our shoulders of our facings. See, how's that? Should I brighten it up a little bit? I feel so underprepared, but I promise I am really prepared. This is my machine. Okay, let me brighten it up a little tiny bit. Just a little bit. I promise. Okay. Is that okay? You had one. Did it not work out for you? All right. So it's 3/8 inch seam allowance, so I'm not really going to trim anything off. Just a tiny bit. I think I just missed that. How's that? Does that work? How's that? Hi, Terry. How's it going? All right. Putting my shoulders together. I'm chaining them together. So you make sure you overlap your facings at the seam line. Remember, don't line it up with the cut edge like that, tip to tip. I know I got that little interfacing over it, but you need it to be lined up at the seam line, because if it's here, when you sew it, it's a nice smooth transition, right? But if you were to sew it tip to tip like that, and once you have it sewn, see how it's off, jogs like that? So you need to line it up on your seam line, which is 3/8 of an inch in. I haven't sewn kids' clothes in so long, and it's so small. Dreaded, then don't do it. There'll be no dreading around here. You are pumped to do it. You got this. Let's see. How's my seam? You know, I think I'm gonna reinforce these. I only have it on a 4-thread serger, and these are wovens. Look at that one. That one's not lined up, so. After all that talk, that big talk. Look, they both have a... Don't look. I must have pushed it. My presser foot on that machine really pushes things, and I forget about that. I got to remember that. These threads. Oh, that's right. I want to test out all my scissors. There's a little snag in this one right now. I'm just going to get them sharpened, but until I can, you know. Yeah, Heather, that is one thing, like, I really had no time to sew for me when I had my little factory. These are not lining up well. I don't know why. None of these shoulders lined up very well. The thing with kids' clothes especially is people are only, it's like unless you're in that gift market, people aren't really willing to spend a whole lot, you know? Yeah. All right, so there's no under or top collar on this pattern, but if you would like to make, say the pink one right now is my under collar. If you would like to make this a proper under collar, what you would do is 0 here. So from 0 here, you're gonna and then you're gonna go around your collar, and then by about right here, you want to be trimming off a fat 1/16 of an inch, you know, maybe up to an 1/8 of an inch if you can handle it, to nothing when you get to your seam line right here, okay? And then you trim it all the way around, and same thing to nothing, like start tapering when you get to this little spot right here. And then when you sew this outer perimeter together, the pink is going to pull under. It's going to wrap the top collar around a little bit and then hide the pink from showing on the outside. And so I'll show you. I can actually just do it on here. It's not hard. So I'm just going to trim it like this very carefully. I'm going to do both at the same time. Because it is when you cut like your collar, it's really easy not to get them identically cut, right? Your under collars and your top collars. And even if you did, what would happen too is because the collars are the exact same. So see that's what I trimmed off there. Kind of, you know, fat 1/8, or not, like an 1/8 when it got to the fatter parts. Middle. Peter Pan collars, let's see how this one's drafted. They can be drafted with a roll or without a roll. The roll is the collar when it comes from your neck and goes like out, right? Like this. This is the roll. So Peter Pan collars don't have a roll usually. They can be exactly the same. Here, I'll turn this over so you can see it better. They can be exactly the same curve as the neckline as this one is. So when I overlap the seam line right there, sorry about my really bad shoulder juncture there. It matches there, it doesn't match there, who knows. This has no roll, so that means the Peter Pan collar sits really flat. And as such, when you have the under collar the same, it can be fine. It can be totally lay flat, but it also can stick up a little bit. I know you all know what I'm talking about, where you see those collars that kind of go wink. It's kind of good to add a tiny bit of a roll to a Peter Pan collar, like even if it's only a 1/2 inch if you're drafting the collar, which means that you pivot your collar a little bit and draft it, and then it would lay more like that. And so then you would have this roll, you know. Just depends. But when you trim it away and create an under collar that's a little smaller, you're going to get a better chance of the collar laying kind of flat against the body and the under collar not peeking out underneath. Yeah, exactly, Terry. That's smart. Yeah, Flaps are such a great thing to do that on, because especially if the flaps are right here. Have you ever had that shirt or jacket where the flaps kind of stick out? And for me, I'm always trying to under accentuate my bust. And so anytime there's anything right here on a garment, I'm like, nope, I don't even look at it, especially if there's flaps. But it's a good practice to do if you can. All right, so you still sew it the same. It will feel a little awkward because look, it is smaller. See that? And then we're just going to pull it as we go around, but you have to have it lined up still here. So this is weirdly 3/8 of an inch. It's going to be hard for me. I like 1/4 inch on collars and facings. You might want a smaller stitch length when you're doing kids' clothes because it's so small. So just do it right sides together. I'll pin this so that I know you know, by a certain point, I need to be on track because it does get a little bit, you may have to, because you've changed the outer measurement there on this seam line as opposed to this seam line. This one's a little shorter now, but there's a lot of stretch in this collar. So you see how it's already lifting up? That's great. You want it to be lifting up because we're on the underside. That means it'll turn under as well. It's not hard to sew this, but you would notice it. All right. I would also trim this seam allowance down to 1/4 of an inch or less. On these little tiny things, you can make it kind of small. Having interfacing on your top collar and having an under collar like this is going to set it up to succeed better. So whether you understitch your collar is up to you. These little tiny things are kind of hard. So I think I'm going to iron it and see if it needs it. Yes, Diane, I can. It is a little girl's dress with a gathered skirt, a Peter Pan collar, and has a back opening along the back. Let me see if I can find a... Here you go. It looks all boxy there, doesn't it? So the left picture is the front and the right picture is the back. Okay, Terry. So we'll see how it's nice sitting kind of curved up. That's great. So I'm actually going to just notch a little bit of this edge here because I don't need it to spread out. I actually need them to overlap each other when we turn it and press it. So let's do our other one and then we'll press the collar. I like sewing from the under collar side up because it is the smaller piece, so it's the one I'm trying to manipulate a little bit. So if you do end up adding an under collar. And how about what we do is I won't trim it on the other one I'm making, the other dress I'm making. We can just compare and then we can see if it's even worth it. Little things are so hard to keep the proper seam allowance. You know, Heather, I've thought about, I don't know if you're still here, Heather, but I've thought a long time about doing like a business stream for those folks that really want to do, you know, production, anything, bags, clothing, whatever, and just helping anybody out that wants to kind of go that route. All right, let me iron this. Yeah, so I don't know. I just don't know if many people would actually tune in for that or if they are really that interested. I am not, you know, a know-it-all expert, but I know some of the things I've worked out. This is why an awl works better. Pins are so weak. But look at that. This is already looking pretty good. Look at that. You don't see any of the pink. I don't think I'll need to understitch it. Understitching's fine. It's just, I don't think it's necessary. You know? Okay. So I'm going to look at it on this side, and so you can see there's a little bit of the outer fabric pulling to underneath. That's great. That means my pink is not going to show. It would almost be better to like press that seam, you know, like I do on French seams. Ooh, it would be so nice. I feel like my curve could be a little bit better. Oh, I could have planned my kitty cats better, huh? This little guy is upside down and he's in the front eating a strawberry. Look at the, so you see how it's kind of choppy? That's my clipping, by the way. Let's try these scissors. Let's put these clips a little closer together. Closer they are, the more opportunity you have for curve. That's a lot of clips though, isn't it? Yeek. You wouldn't want to have to take that apart and resew it. But if you thought about trying to make a circle with a bunch of straight lines, that's what you're kind of trying to do. You know, like drawing lots of lines to make a circle. That's the principle. So you want this cut edge to match on the neckline. All right. Right, Diane? So true. I haven't, Malin, but I've seen lots of tutorials about it. I don't think it's hard to find information about doing the distressing on your jeans. Yeah, exactly, Heather. I know, right? Heather, I hate the promotion. That is one of the things that really, it just felt like I could always have done better. But, you know, doing all of that yourself, it's just a lot. It's hard to promote yourself anyway for most people, and keeping up on it, and because it's like a constant thing, you know. All right, so there's our little collar, and so now we're going to let's press our shoulder seams, shall we? Just press these little seams to the back. So now if you don't have a serger, you can just zigzag your seams. You don't actually need to finish the seams of the facing. But because it's not, the facing's not going to cover the entire shoulder, you do need to finish that edge. And since it's kids' clothes, it's definitely going probably in the washer and dryer. So, you know, even if you zigzag or you just top stitch, top stitching is great. You don't actually need to zigzag or anything like that, right? You could just sew the seam and then top stitch it down as an extra reinforcement. I think that works great. I'll bet, Heather, like the niches are what's key, especially if you're sewing something nobody else wants to do, you know? All right, so the blunt curve goes to the front and it lines up. You see on my center notch there that I added? It lines up to your center front. Now, I've found if you really want that to butt up against itself, you really got to mash them together. There's just something about adding the seam that makes them pull away from each other sometimes, and you're just like, I know I got it together, you know? So. All right, so I'm gonna put my, and look, they actually, there's still a little notch right there, so it looks like they overlap it like this. So let me look at the instructions if that's true, like that. Oof. Let's see. Maybe she combats that for that reason. With the in the face side of collar against the right side of the dress, line the notches and pin. It just says align the notches and pin. Why aren't we doing the facing yet? Oh, because you do it all in one. Got it. Yeah, exactly, Heather. Well, I'm actually going to sew this down. Where's my little notch? Let's get my... I hate when I drop scissors. Yeah, that's why I made a lined version. I'm gonna smooth out my transition here. It's just this one. Okay. I kind of want to just sew this down though, you know? But where's the notch on these? Oh, there's not. That's right. There's no back notch on the bodice. There must be on the pattern. I just don't have it for this piece. So I'm not sure where this goes. Usually we go to center back bodice. Center back bodice is where your collar goes. When are we going to do another jeans tutorial? We're doing the Saffron jeans by Deer and Doe. I know for sure. I don't know when. What are you wanting to make, Brown Sugar? Oh, Rachel. That's funny. So I think I'm going to decide that this is the... Don't leave your foot on the presser foot. You see where this buttonhole marking is? That's what I'm going to use as my center. Yeah. Usually your buttons and buttonholes are on your center. So we will do that and see if we can, if that works with our wee neck. The stay stitch in your neckline makes this step a little easier as well. I'm not sure why these overlap, but I kind of want them just to meet a little bit. That's what I'm going to do. A little bit of my pink is showing, so I'm going to kind of pull it under with my pin instead of my awl instead of my pin. I don't know why I was using a pin. I'm just tacking this because I don't want to deal with the pins poking me the whole time I'm sewing this thing together, you know? So. Some low rider jeans. Yeah, what pattern do you think of? Yeah, they do. Oh, as a print pattern? I don't know. That's a great question. They sell a lot of Deer and Doe print patterns. So I'm pretty sure. They only sell print patterns. Yeah. Yeah, there's not many. There's low rise. The gingers can be low rise. Okay, I don't like that. Everything I worked toward to getting that under collar is still snuck out. I feel like I'm out of sorts again right now, so sorry. Let's make sure. I'm going to push my under collar towards itself, and I'm going to top stitch it down. I'm going to do the same over here. I'm just going to make sure, because I'm letting it know who's boss right now. That's me. Yeah, remember, I didn't trim away at the seam line, so that is exactly where it's going to do it. But you need to maintain your seam length. I may end up getting a little tuck, so I'm doing this a little backwards right now. All right. But now I don't have that pink showing. You know? That's what I wanted. All right, so we have our little collar. Now we're gonna do our little sleeve peplums. Do you sew these right sides together, right? Yeah. Then you gather, and then you do the bias. We got this. This is the notched edge, so sew it right sides together along the unnotched edge right here. I actually feel like the last time I made a little dress like this was for my little sister, because my sister and I are like 12.5 years apart. So I wasn't out of the, I was like in my early 20s, I think, when she was wearing, well, no, that's not true. I think I was actually living at home still when I would make her little dresses like this. She'd never wear a dress. Like, she's not, like, that's not her style now, so it's kind of funny. I wonder, Brown Sugar, if you could go on like the Fold Line or Pattern Review or Textilia and find a low-rise jeans pattern that you like, that there's a lot of reviews for, you know? Yeah, you could lower the rise yourself. That's true. Let's iron this. I'm gonna do my French seam technique where I press it like this. This would be another thing you could understitch, but you will end up seeing the understitching in the edge of the sleeve. I would also, if you have the opportunity, you could, one side of these, I could have made that the pink. One side could be a lighter weight fabric, and then it'll flutter better. The stiffer the fabric, the more they like stick straight out, you know, which is cute on a little girl. So back. I just want to make sure I have two that are kind of, these are both, this is a left and this is a left, so let's make this the top. You know, so that it's a little guaranteed that they both look about the same. There we go. That looks better. Yeah, I kind of like mid-rise, I've learned. Yeah, I definitely don't want the high-waisted thing. I walked by some jeans yesterday at Target that were full-on acid wash, pegged pants, gathered at the waist a little bit, full-on from the 80s. And I hope there was no security camera that caught my face, because I was so shocked that I think it showed on my face. I was like, oh, no, I don't want to see that. I don't want to go back there. I did not like those in the 80s. So I thought they looked really weird on girls. I never owned anything acid wash. I'm really sorry if you guys really like it, but it's not my thing. All right, so there should be, here's a little notch. Do you line up your notches? Where's the notches? Oh, there's a single notch on the back. Do I have that? No, I don't. Oh. Why don't I have that notch? Look at that armhole. Looks like the letter J. Kids are such a funny thing to fit, you know? Little potatoes with arms and legs. But we love our potatoes. All right, I have the front one. Yep. All right, so we're gonna put our gathering stitches in, and 2 rows is more work, but it makes the gathers look way nicer. So I really recommend it. I'm gonna make my stitch length longer. So you see how this piece, you use the same top and bottom. The same principle for the undercollar. You see how this is pulling away? That's because I really wanted to make sure my seam wasn't creeping out and wrapping to the top. But that means I just kind of did that exact same technique of making it, you know, smaller, but I just did it in the ironing process. Have you guys ever made anything by Sew Over It? Because this is the same pattern company. And I see some really cute things by them. Yeah, right? Hi, Megan. They look like doll clothes, totally. Yeah, joggers. See how nice the gathers look when it's 2 rows, though? They're flatter. They look better. Yeah, everything is boxy and huge. Yeah, I'm always thrown off by their hashtag because people will say, I made the SOI whatever, and then the powder name. And I'm always like, soie. Like it's a French thing or something. What's that? And then I'm like, oh, Sew Over It. I have trouble. My tails are so short. Ugh. There we go. I got it. I actually think it's hung up on this down here. There we go. Yeah, that was what it was. All right, so I'm just going to gather it a little bit. Do this one now. So this is the back. Yeah, okay, perfect. Just making sure I'm consistent. I'm staying really close to the raw edge there because it's only 3/8 of an inch seam allowance, and putting 2 rows of gathers in there is pretty tricky. I've gotten pretty good at it lately from making all the cupcakes and pie slices because my seam allowance on that pattern is only 1/4 of an inch. And I'm like, yeah, I want you to put 2 rows of gathering stitches in there, especially for the cupcake ruffle. It is a little tricky, and I know that. But I've gotten pretty good at it lately. Your love, everything about my dress from this company is awesome. Which dress, Megan? Did I miss what you said earlier? No, I didn't. I like seeing the commenting on the YouTube window better. Oh, okay. Ooh, first snow warning. Oh my gosh. It was 76 degrees here. And I know that's in Fahrenheit, but that's pretty warm for November. Oh, wait, let's just look at the back here. Yeah, you see how it's a little hung up right there? That's why it's giving me trouble. What the heck is all that? What the heck is all that? There we go. Dang. Yeah. Exactly, Melon. Oh, you had the fireplace. Oh, that sounds so cozy, Diane. So like here, like yesterday, I walked out the door with my classic fall winter outfit on. Jeans, shirt, or t-shirt, or like a little button-up shirt, and then a sweater that I knit probably, you know, a cardigan. And we went to the plaza and we were standing in the full sun, and I was like, okay, I'm glad I left the jean jacket in the car. And then by like getting into the car, I was like, oh yeah, it's kind of warm. So it's kind of that weather where you know, it's like hot in the car but cold in the shade, you know. All right, so I'm just gonna line up these to the notches so that I can adjust my gathers, because it looks like I gathered more than I need to by a lot. Sometimes there's so little gathers in things, I wonder why you put gathering stitches in. This is not one of those things, but have you ever been there? You're like, I just spent all that time doing that. I don't see a shoulder notch, so it looks like you're just gonna evenly distribute these gathers. It's not a sleeve, it's just basically a fancy ruffle, you know, so you don't really need it to fit like a sleeve. So I'm gonna make sure all my gathering stitches, which I thought I had when I pinned this, but now I see they're creeping out. I'm gonna make sure they're all towards the raw edges. And then I'm gonna stitch all this down. I'm gonna try not to catch my gathering stitches so that I can just pull them out. I'm gonna put my stitch length back. I'm just tacking this because we're gonna bind this seam. I'm trying to stay away from my gathering stitches on the seam line, the 3/8 inch seam allowance. Getting all my gathering stitches towards the raw edge so that they're out of the way. Like that. And now I'm just going to pull out the gathering stitch because I don't need it anymore, and it'll be nice and neat. So oh, very boho style. Cool. There we go. You don't have to remove your gathering stitch, but I do find that it makes sure that your stitches aren't, you know, creeping out into the seam, exposed for everybody. All right, so there's your little sleeve. It's coming along. Pretty cute. That would have been cute to do the pink underneath. I'm not a big fan of pink. I like some kinds of pink, so I didn't even think about it. But there is the bias binding. You'll get that little hit there. I keep hearing this push pin. I don't know where the heck it came from. Where is a push pin when you need it? You know? All right, same thing. We'll pin it. The whole bodice can fit on the machine bed. Isn't that fun? Put all my raw edges right there, and I'm just going to pin the beginning and the end, and then I'll adjust. Oh, the Florence dress. Okay. It's -2 there. Ooh. That's awesome, Diane. I know. I feel like I've seen that before. People get really hooked on using that pom-pom maker. Ooh, yeah, you could make a pom-pom rug. I want a garland. I remember one time knitting a heart garland, and it took a little while. No, I knit the hearts. That was fast. And then you stuff them a little bit, and it was really cute. But then I made an I-cord string to hold them. That took longer than knitting all the hearts. Like, what did I get myself into? But it looked really nice, and once I started, I couldn't stop. I should have just sewed the hearts onto ribbon, you know? Yeah, that'll be cute. All right, pushing my shoulder seam allowance towards the back and just kind of Line up those raw edges, staying on my 3/8 inch seam allowance or my seam line, and then making sure I don't catch my gathering stitches so I can pull it out. I like that clean look of that. And as I go along, I'm pulling the bodice so that this raw edge lines up with the sleeve. That's what I'm doing with my hands there. Making all my threads towards the seam allowance. And then there we go. Megan, I found another game that I like that your kids might really like, and it's cheap. It's only 20 bucks. It's called Ready, Set, Heroes. It's cute. Oh, that's nice, Diane. You're doing it with like an 8-year-old? Oh my gosh, and you knit mini stockings. Yeah, that would be a lot of work. But you have it forever, unless you give it as a gift, you know. Oh, really? That's awesome. Oh, see, that's the thing is like sometimes the instructions don't work out and you just need that person that's like figured it out and does a little YouTube tutorial on it, huh? All right, so we have our little sleeves on here. I'm gonna do the side seams together now. I'm gonna use my serger. Why doesn't that match? Am I just that crap at cutting little tiny things right now? Have I lost my touch? I'm gonna line it up at the armhole. Okay, wait, it's my pattern table. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now we have our armholes. See what I mean by these scissors? They were so great, and then now they're just not really. And now we're gonna bind the armhole. Oh, I probably need a different thread color. Ooh, ooh. Do I not have a, oh, I do. That's pretty good. I think they gave me thread. Yeah, they did. Your kids are more about the gore games. Killing zombies as a vegetable wasn't cutting it, huh? That's my joke with my friends. I'm like, we're vegetables. Where's the edge? There it is. Inside the hem. Is inside the hem like the name of a YouTube YouTube person? One of you guys shared some gal with me recently. Oh, I'm totally blanking on her name. Beverly shared her with me, and she did she had a little Harry Potter thing recently too. I'm really jealous of those folks that really just have like one camera. They're not like, am I just too much of a tryhard? Am I just over the top? I feel like nobody's going to want to watch unless it looks as good as I can manage, you know? And then, and her, it's not like her quality's bad at all. It's just like, she's so casual and relaxed, you know? I'm like, oh, I could learn something from that for sure. All right, so here's the binding. Looks like it's 1 inch wide. And this binding goes to the inside of the garment. So we're gonna sew it to the right side first, and then we're gonna go to the inside. So actually, this feels really awkward. Why does this feel so awkward? Here we go. I'm gonna go from the side. I'm going to sew from the inside of the armhole like this, rather than sewing out here, because you'll get hung up on it. It won't work. So you need to be kind of inside this hole right here. Press the seam allowance towards the back. And then I'm going to fold the edge of the binding and just butt the fold up against the seam allowance, just because it's convenient. You know what I mean? So, oh, okay, Malin, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, I feel like I have a lot of stuff going on too. You know, that I'm working on with the patterns and things. So I'm trying to be more, get more videos. I'm gonna do this at a 1/4 inch. I'm not gonna do it at a 1/4 inch seam allowance. I'm gonna line it up so that my seam is on top of this 3/8 inch seam I've already sewn. But that means I'm gonna pull my binding a little bit to the left, because the seam allowance I used was 3/8 and my binding is cut for 1/4 inch. That was lack of my sight. So I'm kind of pulling a little bit on the bias. It'll want to turn to the other side a lot better if you pull, give it a little pull. And then now here I am at the beginning, and I'm just going to, I have these really long pink threads. I'm going to pull the binding. I'm going to go up to that edge that's turned back, and that's where I'm going to cut it off at too. See right there? Just cut it off at that part that's turned back. Look how tiny this little thing is. This is when I learned how to deal with sewing on the inside of the circle, is doing kids' clothes. You know? I feel like this, is that okay? Let's check this side seam out right here. It looks funny to me. It looks like it's at an angle, doesn't it? Things are so tiny sometimes. Huh. I'm gonna resew it. So I guess it's okay. All right. All right, let's put this thread. You're gonna wanna clip this curve. So this is the side seam down here. Really, you just need the curve clipped down here at the bottom of the armhole. When I say clip, I just mean snip into it up to the seam line like this. I'm also going to trim the seam allowance, and I should have probably done that before I clipped it, just because then I have, it's a little messier, that's all. But I'm going to trim this down to about 1/4 inch. I'm really making sure I don't get the dress in my scissors right now. Like I have the dress behind my hand, just to make sure. There we go. So here's your little armhole. So this is going to go to the inside like this. Like that. It's going to clean finish. I want to see how she does it, because I was going to understitch it and then stitch it down. Oh yeah, Diane? Do you want to make this, or do you have like a use for this little dress? I think this is a new pattern line. There's the two ends of the bias tape together. Oh, so she seams her bias tape. I don't do that. She also pre-presses it all. I don't do that. Oh, she hand stitches it. I don't do that. Sorry, Poppy and Jess. You picked the wrong person if you want me to hand sew. Okay, so I'm going to understitch this. I'm getting totally lost in my little... The armhole is so tiny. It's been out about a year, Megan. Oh, thanks. Oh, you have a 3-year-old granddaughter in California. Aw. This is 6 to 9 month size. So I'm going to press the seam allowance towards the binding. Really, this step is just going to help the binding not creep to the right side of the garment. Don't have to do it. But it will make the next step a little easier. And this, like here I am, and this is the little sleeve thingy. I'm really pushing all of it this way, and I'm spreading this apart pretty firmly. And now, I'm just going to do a whole one, then we can do the other. And now it presses to the inside, like this. See, so here we are with our little armhole. And the bias seems kind of small for it, honestly. You see that? I think a better tip when sewing on your bias is not sewing at pulling the bias as you go like I usually do. Yeah, no worries, Diane, if you gotta go. You can just have us on in the background, or you can turn it off. Don't worry about us. I know, I do the same thing with streams. I feel like pulling it is probably makes it easier to sew, but it's harder to do the last step. See how this edge is going to be a little bit smaller? I can kind of spread it apart right here. So maybe not pulling it when you do that first pass will give you a looser finish, you know, which is good. All right, so I'm gonna start on the back of the armhole, and I'm gonna turn it under here, and I'm gonna turn under that seam allowance all the way under there, but I'm gonna try and get the dress to poke out a little bit. This is so tiny. And you want now to still be sewing inside the sleeve hole here. Oh, maybe I want cream bobbin thread. Yeah, I think, I don't know, what do you guys think? Cream bobbin thread or the pink? Maybe I'll do cream. Hi, Carrie. 3-month-old baby dresses. Oh my gosh. Cream, yeah, I think so too, Malin. Oof, I'm about to run out though, so let's just switch it preventatively. They're 18 months now. Did they ever fit them? You just never know what size a baby's going to be born. She even mentions that in the instructions. She's like 75% of babies are either are or aren't the size that they, you know, it slates on the pattern. So make sure you measure. We don't really measure babies though like we do ourselves. Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to have a little bit of pulling on this armhole. I'm going to do my best. We'll see. Because I really want the armhole to be flat. So I'm going to pull the bias as best I can. really using my fingers to spread everything apart and make sure everything is nice and flat as I go. Almost to the beginning. This is going to be the tricky part. I know it's been looking like everything's going to be fine, but this is where it's going to get dicey because of the curve of the armhole. Let's see. I think it's going to be okay. We'll see when it's all done. That'll be the true test. It got a little narrower there, but I'd rather do that than have the pulling that bias can do. Let's see. Yeah, see that? It's a little bit pulled right there. This is what I'm talking about. See how it goes? Whoop. Hope they don't have chunky arms. Oh, Rachel, yeah. Oh, you guys, you said, welcome back, Terry. Oh my gosh, wow. What's a boomer? What's a boomer outfit? Yeah, right? Looks pretty cute though. But can you see it? How it's like, whoop. Let's see if the other one, we can prevent that. So this time I'm going to put the binding on as loose as possible. That's my strategy. This is coming apart right here. What happened? Just make sure it's okay. All right, so we'll, same thing, push the seam allowance towards the back and put it on from the inside of the armhole. I had to think about that. I'm going to put that a little past the side seam just to kind of reduce some of the bulk. All right, right, that's right. The seam allowance is a little bit different. All right, so I'm going to put this on very loosely. I'm not pulling it. If anything, I'd rather pull the armhole. It just has a little bias I can take advantage of. So I'm putting my bias about 1/8 of an inch away from the raw edge because I cut it for 1/4 inch seam allowance. Up on top of the cap, you can pull a little bit. It's just down here on this curved area. Put all my little threads towards the raw edge. All right, I'm back down here to this curve. I'm gonna get rid of this thread. It's driving me nuts. That pink thread just goes boing. Who am I making clothes for? This is a sponsored stream. Hearts Fabric gave us all of this, the fabric and the pattern. So they just got these patterns in. They're new to Hearts. So I'm understanding now these aren't new. They're about a year old, but they just started carrying these patterns. All right. So I go up to this little turn back edge and then I cut it. See, like that. And now I'm going to trim my seam allowance and clip it. And then we'll be onto the skirt. So this is going back to them, like they're gonna hang it in their store. I saw your name, Brown Sugar, on Instagram, but now I don't remember it. I hope you don't mind I call you the Brown Sugar. You make me think of like baking, and I like that. There's nothing like brown sugar and butter creamed together. Oh, so good. You never use patterns for your, yeah, I mean, little kids' clothes, you can kind of get away with a lot, you know. They don't have necks. They're potato shaped. Potatoes rule, you know. Now that I'm becoming more potato shaped though, I don't find the same holds true. I need things to fit better. All right, so I'm gonna do my understitching. Oh, I didn't clip. I need to clip. I really need to clip. I need to make sure. So let's press the seam allow the bias back towards the bodice. I'm gonna clip this. Let's get rid of this. I don't want to accidentally clip into that. There we go. I wonder if my niece would wear something like this. She's in grade school though, but this goes up to size 6, these patterns. This one does. Is it newborn to 6 years? Oh, and I forgot to tell you more about this fabric. This little Japanese fabric from Hearts. They got all these really cute Japanese prints in. I'm understitching right now. And we have a few of them to do some of the kids' clothes. We have this little cat print. And then we have a meerkat print too. Daphne, that's right. That's a great name. Dang, what a great name. All right. Now I sew from the right side of the garment. My bias to the inside. So you can see it. This is what you're fighting right here. See these little wrinkles right here? Because the bias is smaller than the armhole where it's being sewn to. It's kind of that classic issue we have like with any of the necklines that are bias trimmed. I don't find it to be the best on a neckline because this is the issue you get on a neckline. It's very, very prominent. You see it, and it's like, actually I was getting that question texted to me by my friends, by a couple of friends. They were like, I just can't get this to lay flat. And I'm like, it's really hard for me to get it to lay flat too. I totally share your frustration. And then when I did, I think it was tunic number 1, I ended up cheating and letting a little bit of it show on the outside and used it as like a little color design feature, you know, like a little contrast edging, and it looked cute, but still. Aw, that's so cute, Rachel. But I bet you didn't appreciate having to do that right after having a premature baby. That's a lot of work. Probably seems nostalgic now, but at the time it was probably a little bit like, dang, I have one outfit for my baby, you know? Okay, let's see. I'm spreading this apart best I can. It did help a little bit, not stretching the binding, but it's not foolproof. And if you hand sew this, you're gonna get the same issue. So, bubble bottom romper. Bubble bottom romper. Okay, here we go. The armhole's kind of stiff. It's more pastel in person, but it's really cute. I like how vibrant it looks on the camera. It's a little more pastel in person. You had 303 years old and 6 older siblings. Oh, man. Oh, I bet, Rachel. That's the way you got to do it. Yeah, right? Like a living doll. Okay, so now we have our skirts. And we have our facings. So the fabric that I have here, this Japanese import with the cats, is the item number is 98872 on the Hearts Fabric website. If you guys missed that 20% off sale they had a couple days ago, you can still get 10% off with the code SOSO10. The Kona Cotton, the pink, is 07509. This comes in two colorways, the cat print. This one's Fruity Necco Cream. The other one's called Biscuit. And that one's 98873. So that's the information on it. And they are 100% cotton. All right. So let's see what we have. This is the back. We're going to sew our facing to the back. That's the little side seam. It's so wee. Let's move our binding. This is the straight edge, so there's a slight angle on the side seam here you don't want to lose track of. So I'm going to do the center front seam first. I feel like that shrank a little when I ironed it. Do you guys ever see that? Oh, you know what? I just did that wrong. Sorry. You're supposed to do dang it. You're supposed to do the facing all in one. I'm just going to take it out right here. That's it. Sorry, my bad. That's why we didn't attach it earlier, because I'm trying to follow the instructions. Sorry about that. So just set your facing aside if you haven't attached it yet to the skirt. So we're going to do our side seams on the skirt. Let's see, there's the angle. And there's the angle. I'm going to serge these two. Like this. Is she fitting your apron pocket? Oh, wow. Okay, not the serger, the pattern table. Okay. I have all these scenes named. This is my pattern table camera. So this is another opportunity to do the trick where you serge with the front facing up, so the nice side of the serging is on the side that you're going to push the seam allowance away from. Just so you know when you're sewing, when you get to a seam, you're like, oh, that's the right side of the serging. I know then it gets pushed back. On something like a skirt, it's not going to be something so hard to figure out, you know, because it's pretty straightforward. Did you used to do tutorials, Rachel? How'd you know that? Does she have a YouTube channel? All right, we're going to add the gathering stitch to the waist here. This is my least favorite part of sewing anything that, wait a minute. Did I remove the, wait, oh I did. Let's just take this off. I'm just gonna take this off. Oh, my thread's not cream yet. Wait, I thought I switched that. Oh, my top thread's not cream yet. Oh. Good catch, Duffy. That was the sewing fairy telling me. Ah, that makes sense, Rachel. You can't do everything, you know. It's really good to know where to let things go, you know. Bags are awesome. No fitting involved. No sizes. Come on. There we go. All right. Let's take off my facings here since I unstitched the wrong end on both of them. I don't recommend this method of seam ripping, but if you just pop the first stitch while you're doing it, it can be pretty safe. Just don't push the seam ripper down the length of it. You can and will eventually rip your garment. It also leaves more threads. If this were stouter fabric, I would just pop the back tack at the bottom and then I would just pull it and rip it apart if you guys weren't watching. Oh, cool, Rachel. So when you did your tutorials, did you record your video, edit it, and then upload it? I don't like the editing part. I always feel like it could be better and better and you could spend just so much time on the editing. And I feel like also it's nice to have the interaction with people if they have questions, you know? All right, so see, this is the back where you're starting at, and your facing is eventually going to get sewn to the back here like this, you know, so you don't really need gathers a whole lot because it is kind of nice when it's flat right here at the waist. So that's awesome, Rachel. Yeah, that's true. That, I mean, there's that size thing, Megan. What kind of cameras did you end up going with? So I'm going to start my gathering a little bit into that because, you know, you can't really gather up to the edge. So when I do really big, long lengths of gathering, I like to stop at the side seams and then do it in sections. So I'm going to do that. And then I like to overlap my gathers as well. This was a little too far. We could probably go back to like right here. I'm going to start about right here. This is the front. I have a little notch right here for the center. Having the V-notch makes it so that you can see it a little bit easier amongst all the gathers. Getting all your gathers in there, it's kind of a pain. My seam allowance looks like it's grown a little bit there. I did notice that. All right, now I'm gonna overlap. This is doing it this way in sections is particularly useful on adult garments. On kids, it's a pretty small little area. I'm just demonstrating it because it is really useful and we do it so much on other garments as well. If you have a differential feed, you can try it, but my differential on my serger doesn't do it tight enough usually. That's funny, brown sugar. I mean, if she has a video editor, why not, right? All right, so then you gather a little bit from one end. and then a little from this end. If you do all your gathering from one end, you'll eventually pull your gathering stitches out because you'll run out of space. Looking at that one gal that Beverly has shared with me, like she even does little videos where she updates her website. She's like, oh, I have these, you know, zipper pulls for sale, and then she shows you each one. And I thought that's interesting. I never did that at Chicken Boots. I had videos on how to use our products so people could see the scale of them and stuff like that. But I thought that was really clever. I mean, it's faster and easier if you don't have to edit it, right? All right, so let's just make sure I didn't catch any of my stitches with each other. It'll be easier. I'm going to start pulling this one too so I don't have to find it. There we go. This gathers up really nicely for being such a nice weight cotton, because it is kind of, I'm not going to say heavy, but it is like quilting weight, which is fine for kids' clothes, you know. It's kind of one of the only reasons you can, only times you can use quilting cotton. Still gathers really nicely. All right, so we have all of our gathers in. Oh, I didn't pull this one. I was like, why isn't that? All right. What a lot of pressure to become famous as a YouTuber. Like, people are trying to do that. I see it all the time in the streaming world, and it is not the, I don't want to be famous. Yeah. Yeah, right, Rachel, exactly. I find that too. Like, I used to, like, when it was new, I kind of worried about it because I really wanted people to trust me that, you know, that I had experience. And so making a mistake felt like I was not, you know, good enough, you know? But then I quickly realized, like, this is what I do. This is what we all do. So it's going to happen. All right, so I'm just lining up all of my key points here. Like, this is my side seam. Centers and side seams always. So where's my little center notch on my skirt here? Here it is right there. Line it up to this center. Okay, at least this size kids' clothes doesn't need pockets either. This side seam here, which I accidentally pushed the wrong way on the skirt. Yeah, the whole, like, what I see getting, like, sometimes when YouTube recommends videos and I'll discover some young gal and I'm like, what is this channel about? I can't figure it out. And then I realize it's not about anything except her just doing stuff, you know? That's a lot of pressure. I can't even imagine. All right, so that looks pretty good. This little section here. What's great about when you match your little centers is that then you know these gathers need to fit in here, right? That looks pretty good. This looks pretty good. Now I'm just kind of evenly distributing it. And by overlapping my gathering threads, I can get my gathers right up to the edge and it'll look the most seamless possible, right? That was something I used to always get frustrated with at the beginnings and ends. And I think it was just because waistlines on adult clothes are so big. And have you ever been gathering your stitches, and then when it breaks, and then you have to add it back in? That is such a bummer, you know? So that's why I started doing shorter sections. And like I said, on the kids' clothes, it's not as critical, but it does make it a little more enjoyable because it's easier to do. So this one could be a little bit more. Wait, did I pull from the right side? I can't remember. No, yeah, I did. Yikes. You don't want to switch midway. Where's my second thread? Try and pull your thread from the wrong side of the fabric. I don't care if it's the bobbin or the top thread, but try and do it from the wrong side so you can adjust it easily. I'm just looking for the threads on this section. I'm just going to pull them a little bit more. There we go. All right, so I'm serging this waistline. Now, if you want a more polished look, you could bind this whole waistline. That might add a little bit of bulk and a lot of work. You could zigzag it. You could, what I would do, I would probably zigzag it or not zigzag it, but I would top stitch it. I would push the seam allowance up to the bodice like this and top stitch it down from the outside. That's how I would secure if I didn't have a serger. All right. Okay, so I'm going to sew this with my single needle first, and then I'm going to sew it with my serger. It'll just be easier and nicer if I do. Because the serger's a little quick. This way I can also get rid of all my pins and all that, right? I can make sure all my gathers are nice. Look at this nice pace I can go at, right? I don't even need pins to pin it because it's so small. So let's put my stitch length back. And I'm not stitching down my gathering stitches, I'm just stitching the gathers. And this is why having 2 rows is really nice, because you can kind of pull your gathers like this and make them so that they're not like folding over on themselves and pleating it down, because then it doesn't look like a gather, it looks more like a fold or a pleat. And when there's a garment that has a ton of gathers, that can be kind of a danger, because then your gathers can't sit next to each other lined up. They start getting kind of pulling up on each other. So, oh wow. Yeah, right, Rachel? I mean, live is not everybody's cup of tea. Yeah, it is all about the money, brown sugar. I know. But I just don't understand how that, like, and you know, they're just going for it right now. I understand that. All right, this gathering stitch is a little below my seam allowance, so I'm going to just try and pull it out later. I'm maintaining the seam allowance, in other words. Yeah, that just seems like not a long term. Like everybody wants those like 2 positions in the world where they can be transfer this life into another bigger life on TV or screen or something. I don't know, that's for sure. It would be fun to have like a little sewing show, wouldn't it? But this is my sewing show. So I saw someone posted that November is Sew Frosting month. Did you guys know about that last year when they had like Sew Frosting? And do any of you participate in stuff like that? I do not. I am not into Sew Frosting. It's like when you make a garment that's completely something you don't need. It's decadent, it's self-indulgent, maybe it's fancy, maybe it's something you will hardly ever wear, but you just really want it. Maybe it's like a childhood dream to have that garment. You know, a 70s pantsuit with sequins on it or something like that. So, yeah, we've had sewing channels here, Rachel, like on PBS and stuff. They're on really early. Why isn't this, didn't get good? My stitch length seems really long still. Did I just get a wrinkle in that? Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. All right. So this is, you should always look at your gathers just to make sure that you don't have any of the fabric going up and getting caught in here. There's not too many gathers in this skirt. It's the perfect amount that you don't really have to worry about that happening. But sneaky stuff does happen, and that's why I don't serge it first. All right, I can see my threads here, so I'm gonna try and pull all my gathering stitches out now. I like doing it. Megan, you always say things, I'm like, what is that a reference to? Nope. So I can look inside here at my seam allowance and try and get my threads like this. You don't have to do this. I just like doing it. Mainly because I don't want my threads showing on the outside. So I'm just going to go for the ones that I know are showing on the outside. Let's see, did I get them all? And then I'm going to serge it. It looks like I got my little side seam there. I think it got caught in there. Because I did the 2 rows near the seam allowance, there was the side seam, there were 4 rows of gathers, so it definitely creeped out beyond the seam allowance. So this is why I'm getting rid of some of these. All right, that all looks good. Now I'm going to serge it. Oh, the frosting sewing things, yeah. Yeah, I don't know, Megan. I mean, I can see if it was maybe a process thing, like you're like, I've always really wanted to make whatever it is, and I just want that experience, but it's not something you really need day to day. I could relate to it on that level. All right, so I don't need my serger to be on the seam line. I just need to tidy up all this here. Pull all my threads towards, and make sure you're keeping everything flat and that way, just in case you sew any of it. And there's no pins. What? Yeah, that's true, Heather, huh? Did you show me the ostrich costume? I didn't see an ostrich costume ever. I want my ostrich costume. These are just threads. I'm pulling them out. I'm just using the serger to finish the edges. It's not my functioning. Hey, stop that. Seam. Oops. All right, so now we have our serging. And we just need our facing and our hem. Pretty cute. All right, where's our facing? I don't drop things when I'm sewing on my own as often as I do with you guys, because I try and keep everything so close. Oh. Wasn't one of you making an ostrich costume? All right, I'm sewing my skirt facing to the regular facing. So there you go, 3/8 inch seam. So this little spot could be tricky in getting your center front bodice to line up with this seam here. And you really want to make sure that your bodice is going to line up like this as well, left to right, right? Because you don't want your bodice to be uneven. Oh, you bought one. Okay. Maybe that's it. So see, look, already my facing is a little bit off. Let's look at the bodice right now, because now is the time where we're going to make any adjustments. Let's look at it right sides together. It's this kind of detail that you kind of start thinking about when you upgrade your sewing abilities. You start thinking about these little things ahead of time. So that's pretty good. That's the seam right there. Let's see if the skirt's about the same. So that's actually pretty good. So let's see which one of these needs to adjust. Oh, now it looks fine. It looks pretty good. Okay. So now you can put your facing on in one fell swoop. I'm actually going to serge my hem as well. I'm just going to serge around the edge. That way it's almost done once I put the facing on. A Rocky Horror. I've never seen that. Isn't that crazy? Let go of me. There we go. The vibration is so annoying. I'm going to do the facing as well. Just realized you're going to do the outer edge of this facing. Now, if you don't have a serger, I often will just fold it over and stitch it down. I think it actually looks really nice. In fact, I think I'm going to do that. I think it looks nicer. And it lasts longer. So I'm just going to kind of hem this edge, but I'm not going to do a really fancy hem. I'm just going to turn it and stitch it down. Just a tiny bit. You don't want to do too much because you have to go around this curve, and the curve's going to give you a little bit of trouble probably, you know. And just, you can open up these seams if you want, like that, to kind of reduce bulk. This is the waistline that we're looking at here. This will keep the edge totally finished. So if you don't have a serger, you could do this. I do this on my the blouses I wear. I like the way it looks. It's less fussy and needs less ironing. I know that sounds crazy, but it just does. I think it's just more stable, and because it's like thicker, it just has less weak spots to wrinkle. So this little curve, you know, might be a little tricky. Just do your best. You could iron it first if it makes you feel more comfortable. I'm getting a little narrow right now, so I wouldn't mind a little more. That's why I'm lifting up my presser foot. Plus that helps walk it. Use your awl if you like. We're almost done with this dress. All right, let's trim this to be flush. And then I'm pressing my seam allowance towards the back. Oof, I'm barely catching it there. You can bind this edge, zigzag it, serge it, or overlock it, whatever you call it, or hem it. You can even line the facing. So just cut 2 of all these pieces, and then 4 of these, 2 center and then 2 front neck, and then sew them together, right sides together around this perimeter edge. And then you can have a nice finished facing, but it can be thick. I would leave off the inner facing. What's a duster? Oh, a duster coat. That's like a long coat. How fun. That's, oh, I love that, Carrie. I love that he has his style, you know? That's very like 40s film noir, right? Am I right there? Oh gosh, that's so funny. I do that too. You know what I couldn't find the other day was an eraser. And I usually have 3 around here, and they're in like a couple different spots. And like one I broke in half. That's why I have, like, I had 2, and then I broke one in half, you know, because I didn't want the whole thing. So there you go. See, the right side looks really nice. And I just folded it under. Looks good. Okay. So now we're going to put this right sides together, and we are almost done, except for buttons and buttonholes. So I would focus on this waist seam. Push your seam allowance of the skirt up towards the bodice. Put the seam line right on there, and I would adjust everything around that. But just make sure that your bodice length is the same left and right. Thought more Western. Oh, right. Like an Australian duster coat, right? Is that what I'm thinking of? I think I was thinking trench. And I know what a trench is, so. All right, so I have these spots here. Line up your shoulder seams. You can't really see them, but you know where it's at. Some of these pins need to be thrown away. All right, so here's my waist seam here. So before I sew this, I'm gonna check to make sure that the center backs line up. Like that. As long as I'm consistent with my seam allowance, you know? All right. That looks pretty good, I think. We'll see. Hi, Nancy. Or Pony Express. Yeah, I think you're right, Rachel. Yeah. How are you, Nancy? All right, so if you didn't need to alter the length of your skirt, actually, I'm gonna make sure my skirt's the same right now too. Lining up the seam line with one another. And I'm gonna give myself like a little notch right here. And this is how I'm going to finish the hem. Because I'm kind of doing a little trick, but it's an easy trick. So where am I gonna start? I think I will start, I'm gonna start here. All right, so I'm gonna sew across this facing at that little notch I just did. And then I'm gonna pivot at the seam line right now, like that. And now we're gonna sew around the perimeter. Got it all pinned. We'll just have to pay attention to some things at the neckline, but for the most part, this is pretty straightforward. Just keep your dress out of the way and maintain your seam allowances really nicely so that all these spots that line up, like left to right overlapping, work out. Oh, have you not been feeling good, Nancy? I'm sorry. That's a bummer. Okay, so I would honestly prefer to sew this from the other side so I could see my seam line that I've already sewn. Note to self, maybe I should have done that. But we will just fix anything we didn't sew very accurately. But we've already sewn this, so it's all going to go together like butter. I'm just kind of keep making sure everything's flat. So I kind of have to flatten it out because of the curve, and then I pull it to the front. This just comes with time. When you're handling a lot of fabric over the years, you start getting kind of the hang of how the fabric behaves and just going with it. My finger is getting further and further away. There's a reason I put that magnet there. All right, go all the way down here, and then same thing at that same notch, we're going to turn like that. All right, we're going to clip our corner here and here. We're going to trim our neck, these little points from the collar. For this, Karen? Oh, for your coat, your son's duster coat. You'd want it to be kind of weighty, you know? Are you willing to order online? Or are you trying to make do? Because you wouldn't want, you know, quilting cotton. I thought I just cut through my seam. I got really close there. Okay, so right down here, you can actually just cut all of this off right here. See, so it looks like that, and I clip my corner. You can clip a little bit more, but you just get rid of that bulk there. You can even you can just get rid of that too. So like this. I don't clip the whole thing. See, so the skirt is going that way still. It's just the facing that I trimmed all the way off of. All right. Yeah, right, Nancy? I think always fall or always spring would be my choice. I like the variety of weather this time of year. All right, so I broke my nail today, so I don't have a good turning nail. Get all our corner points. I'm kind of like building up my the excitement to see if everything matches. You know? I just forgot. I haven't checked to see if anyone's talking on Twitch. I'm sorry, Twitch, if you are. I don't think so. It's just all my automatic messages. Okay, good. Yeah, I know. That's a tough one. I think like Seattle Fabrics would be a really good place to look for a good fabric for that. I'd say the Rain Shed, but they retired. Congratulations to them. All right. So this is why I want to line it, because I hate facings. I don't like facings. All right, so let's see. We can trim our neck a little bit more, maybe. Is this my, make sure none of my, okay, cool. So I can trim this a little more because I think that this is my last seam right here. So I'm going to trim this more. I'm going to clip it more, I mean to say. Going up to my seam line. I went up to the basting stitch. It'll lay flatter if you get this curve clipped. You know? Wax canvas, that would be kind of, I mean, they do waxed. This is reminding me of Jefferson Jefferson Peterson Company. What was that place that Elaine worked at in Seinfeld? J. Peterman? J. Peterman. They would have had a duster in there, in that catalog. All right, let's see how they all match up. See, and this is why you do the facing like that, right? Because then the hem just goes to the inside here, and you can just top stitch it down like that. But we need to do some understitching still and making sure everything lines up. This, it's like, because the fabric's kind of, you know, it's not thick. It's just, you know, it's stout. Oh, I didn't match my center backs up very good for the collar. I just noticed. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's something worth doing some research on. All right, I'm going to do the understitch now. You can't get all the way to the bottom of the facing like this, but that's okay. You don't really need to. You could top stitch this too. That would be cute. Pretty sure it's understitch in the instructions. That's what I'm thinking too, Rachel. Lightweight canvas. Or like a, I was thinking like a supplex or, you know, that was those kind of ripstop supplex type category of pants and things like that. So I'm just pushing the seam allowance towards the tiny little facing. You can go all the way up as far as you can, and then you'll have to stop. And then same thing on the neck facing. So see, I got about an inch away. And same thing here, I'll get as close to there as possible. Just make sure you don't catch your bodice in there. It's so small. It really is tricky, I know. Kids' clothes are such a great way to learn garment construction and all these little techniques because you don't have to do any of them for very long. And they're so quick and you get a lot of variety of skills. So even if you don't have kids in your life and you just want to become a better sewer, totally recommend kids' clothes. You can always donate them. I think I just caught my dress. Oh, I didn't. Shoot. That neck curve can be kind of a brat, so. My fingers are doing a lot in the construction. I'm really pulling things away. It's hard. I have really strong fingers and hands. It's one thing I have strong. All right, so let's pull this little point out better. Your sisters in the 80s were just cotton, but it was probably heavyweight cotton, right, Rachel? Yeah, I think wool's too warm. A duster. What color? Like I keep picturing like deep olive green or... Yeah, Nancy, it's kind of a good learning ground, isn't it? All right, so here's our little facing. So I'm going to hem it, and then we're going to fuss around with our facings a little bit. Our collar is still, you know, it's so tiny. It's still flipping up a little bit. Good thing we did the understitch. I mean the undercollar. It's pretty cute though. All right, so let me just do this hem, and then we're going to press it, and then I'm going to stitch in the ditch all the facings. Any more threads there? Okay, so when you do this kind of hem style, just make sure you have this nice and flat right here, how it's going to be, so that you get this turned up correctly and your facing doesn't droop down. Let's get this little corner here. I missed my thumbnail right now. So you could do a roll hem. I obviously opted for the serger. So I'm just going to go right up to that facing. This is why I want it to lay nice and flat. Why is it so narrow down here? Is that my folding technique capabilities? So you just want to get this nice and straight and right angle-ish. But look at how narrow my facing is right there. Yeah, right, Carrie? Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Oh, that'll be fun, Carrie. Do you know what the sex of the babies is? Yeah, right, Heather? You want to make sure your seam lines up with the side seam there. Just make it consistent. I don't know what the hem allowance is on this. I'm sorry. I just did what I normally do. So I apologize for that. Some of my kids' clothing training is just kicking in, and we had default seam allowances and hem lengths, and I've been trying to fight some of those instincts. All right, so here we are at this spot here. You really want to get these nice and flat, right angles. There's some of my threads from when I removed the facing. I used my seam ripper and it didn't summon Nancy earlier. Okay. So get that nice and flat like that. Hopefully all my skirt and my bodice still match each other really well. This one is a little narrower. I may have gotten a little relaxed when I went around like that. And so it's a nice, clean finish right there. I'm really glad that bobbin wasn't pink all of a sudden. Yeah, well, Heather, that's why like the grandparent market, that's what we called it, the grandparent market. You can do some pretty amazing details because grandparents will pay for it. All right, let's iron this. Yeah, right, Heather, exactly. It really is, because you could get it at Target for $12.99, And I don't even think you could buy the fabric for that, because you'd have to buy the fabric in the increments they have. What the heck happened here? Sheesh. Let's see what the hem allowance really was so I can guide you correctly. Let's see here. Overlock or zigzag the hem. 2 centimeters. How much is that? Add poppers or buttons to clothes. What are poppers? What's a popper? I'm hungry, so it sounds like food. All right. There we go. There we go. I pressed that. Do you see that? I accidentally... What happened here? Look at that. This is the seam. Oh, look at that. I lost serging because I accidentally pulled the thread and I pressed the seam the wrong way. Well, what a bummer. But only you guys know it. There is going to be that one person, you know, that inspects it to see like, oh, I forgot to understitch this side. Just to, you know, find the flaws. There's always that person. Am I right? All right, so I need to get rid of this little thread here. That's where I thought I caught my bodice. So I'm gonna stitch this down and my shoulders as well. And I need to do the understitch on that back facing. Let's try and get this to behave. I think I need my salami. Poppers are snaps. Oh, okay. That's a cute name for them. I like that. Let's do this the way I actually want it to be, you know? I mean, it looks like it wants to do that, you know? But I feel like it's gonna fight it. All right, I feel like I want to go like this. Maybe this isn't going to help. I don't know. All right, so let's put that understitching in. Oh, kind of move that. Yeah, right, Heather? Exactly. It is kind of crazy, all the places that make things that are so cheap. Feed the family. Yeah, no worries, Heather. I'm pretty much done. I'm going to do a lined version, but I'm probably not going to do it all the way through. It's already 1:30. And if you guys are okay, I might skip doing the buttons and buttonholes on this. Is that all right with you guys, or would you rather see that? See, I didn't get this. Look at this. Look how badly I did here. I didn't catch that. It's not a big deal, but, you know, I could have done better. All right, let's understitch this spot before I forget, though. I thought I had that pretty lined up good, but it probably slipped, or I was talking about something and I got punished for whatever I was talking about. You know, I wasn't focused. Sewing Fairy doesn't like that. Ooh, this is so much easier to sew if you press it first. Imagine that. Okay. Is that a fuzzy? Yeah, it's a fuzzy. All right. Okay. I feel like sewing a lined version would be more helpful than doing the buttons and buttonholes. Okay, I'm gonna stitch in the ditch here at the waist to tack this down. So there's a couple ways you can do this. If you're dexterous enough, you can pick this up like this, your finger behind the seam allowance and then the facing right there, and stitch these two together. Or you can just pull apart this seam and stitch in the ditch right there. Don't worry about if it lines up perfectly on the inside. It's more important that it's kind of invisible right here. It's really not that necessary at the waist because the buttons and buttonholes will secure it. But it kind of does make your life easier while you're doing it. All right, and then we're going to do it on the facing here as well. Look how wide this facing is. Huh. Night, Nolan. So try and get this as flat as possible. See how I'm like flattening this like this? I would put a pin on either side of this shoulder like this. Like that, right? And then same thing, spread apart your shoulder and stitch in the ditch to hold the facing down. Why is it making that noise? I didn't get a very good job on the back stitch there. Right here. This stitch kind of disappears after a while, and you might see it right now, but you really won't see it after a while, you know? And it secures the facing. Kids' clothes having a facing can be a little bit fussy, and you know the person who receives this doesn't really want to have to iron. So just try and make their ironing job a little easier, because they're going to be like, oh, I really want to put that dress that, you know, Auntie Heather got Chloe on, but I don't want to iron it. You know what I mean? Thanks, brown sugar. I can skip the buttonholes. I'm doing it now that you said so. All right, I'm just getting this nice and flat with the facing. Let's do it from the inside. That worked better. So nice and flat. This seam obviously should be lining up to the shoulder seam. This one actually works really nicely. But sometimes it doesn't. So if it doesn't, you're going for flat here rather than lined up on the inside. Flat as possible. Try and flatten this whole thing out. It's a huge facing. All right, and let's see if I do my stitch in the ditch a little better this time. This is the one thing, anytime I machine sew it, I do not know why, but it comes out. After repeated wear and tear, it is the only thing I ever machine sew that comes out. I don't know if that's your experience too. I don't know if it's because it's in maybe a high abrasion area being on your shoulder with your bra strap. I don't know. All right, so then this button's, you know, technically, since you're dressing your child, oh, this collar does not want to stay down. You could do it this side over this side, because that's how you would be, right? No. I'm thinking of that wrong. All right, so we'll pin this. These pins need to go. So we have this. It's so little. They gave me buttons though, so I think they're expecting the buttons. You could top stitch this seam going up. Looks a little more finished when you do that, and it might mimic this stitching around the armhole and your hem. There you go. Now the collar is staying down now that I turned it, but you're gonna bet first nap it's gonna stick up. It's so cute. This fabric's really cute. But the whole thing fits in the camera. That's so cute. All right, let's do a little lined bodice version. I may not attach the skirt, but I'm gonna do part of it. Okay, so like I said before, all you need for the lined version is you need the same collars. You don't need the facings. You need 2 fronts and 4 backs. Here's my 2 fronts. And then I've interfaced the little edge of the bodice. All right. So I'm going to prep my collars and my sleeves. I'm going to sew this a little faster this time. I'm getting hungry. Yeah, they gave me the buttons. They're really cute too. I think they're going to be really cute on there. Look how cute those are. Can you see those? They're really cute. Did I lose one? No. Dang it. But I found it. I'm telling you, I'm always dropping stuff. Okay. Let's shut that bag. All right, I'm going to prep the collar. And we won't understitch this one, and we'll see how it goes. That's our test. Not understitch, I'm sorry. Trim away on the collar edge. I knew I unthreaded my needle. All right. 3/8 inch seam. I feel like a lined version would be faster and less fussy to sew. That's my idea. You could make this dress without the collar, by the way, or the sleeves. So there's a lot of variability with this pattern. It would look really different without both, right? Yeah, right? Exactly, Nancy. Yeah, I think that's cute. All right, we're gonna trim this. Do our other one. So you could leave the collar off and leave the little sleeve on there, you know, like, look at how different it would look, you know? I love the look of that. Without the collar, so cute. Without the sleeve, you'd have a little like basic pink dress. You know? Very versatile. And faster. And you could do this lining method on any of those. It'll just be even easier. So I kind of want to leave off the collar. What do you guys think? Should we leave off the collar? Yeah, and a pinafore. I think we should leave off the collar for this one. I kind of want to leave off the collar. Oh, I should leave off the sleeves because I only cut 2. What the heck? Did I really only cut 2? I may have. Yeah, try new collar, right? I don't think pinafores are too big. Not in a baby. All right, I'm going to cut the collar. It's back here, though. Pretty sure I don't have it sitting here. Oh, here's the interfacing I cut for the skirt. All right. Yeah, I think so too. I don't think that this pattern is symmetrical. So honestly, you don't even need the notches that are on it for front and back. You just want to make sure that you are, well, it might even be symmetrical this way too. So you just want to finish one edge, you know, sew it right sides together. And maybe this time we'll understitch this one, you know. We're experimenting. This is a little lighter weight fabric. the lining and the binding of the arrow. I'm lining both, Carrie. I am lining both. I am sorry it's not contrast, but I started spending way too much time figuring out what fabric to use. You ever get there, do that, and then you're just like, gosh, I spent all my time trying to figure out what I'm going to be cutting and sewing, and I didn't get to any of it. And I got here at 10 a.m. because I didn't think about doing this until this morning. So I started like overcomplicating it with scraps, and I was just like, oh, I have this piece here. So then I just did the whole thing. So there won't be any difference to the lining, but at least we'll have the lined example. All right, so we have one here and one here. Let's clip this, and we're not going to do the collars. I'm just going to toss those. You don't need to serge. If you line, you don't need to serge. But you're going to do all your shoulders together right now. So that's a front, and here's a back. Okay. Yeah, the front is on the fold, and you would just cut 2. This especially works because there is a center opening. There are some like tricksy things when you start trying to line or do one-piece facings on little bodices, and you want to clean finish the armholes, like if it's a sleeveless armhole. And this is essentially a sleeveless armhole. You have to have a front or back opening. I think that this shoulder, I actually used the other one to cut this one, so it's probably not off. So here's one, and now, so see, we have one. And then this one I ironed on a little bit of interfacing at where the buttons are. So this will be the outer bodice, the one with interfacing. Hopefully I sew it that way. I don't get lost in it doing this so quickly. See, my seam isn't really lining up that great. My shoulders aren't any. So yeah, you don't need to overlock these edges if it's fully lined. You're gonna leave your side seams open for now. Okay, that's kind of part of the magic of this. All right, we're gonna put our gathering, let's iron all this, and then we're gonna put our gathering stitches in the sleeves. You can open up the seams or press them one direction. I'm just going to open them up. I find that to be the least bulky. The only thing with opening them up is when you go to line up your neck edges together and your shoulder edges, sometimes having your seams pressed one way on the lining and the other way on the outer makes them, you butt up against each other a little easier. It's more like positive, you know? But that's no big deal. Just an idea. This is more like classic, you know, grandma sewing at home. Open up the seam allowances. And this is the way I learned to sew. Not from my grandma, but there weren't sergers then. Pressing. And make sure you do notch your center waist and your center neck on the front. All right, and let's do the little sleeve. I understitched this one. I didn't do that on the Japanese cat print. I just left it. This is the bonus dress. Which part sews you? Leaves the unsewn on for turning. Okay, so now we're going to gather up the little caps here. So now that we know that this piece is symmetrical, it can go a little faster because you don't have to worry about lining things up or making a left and a right. I'm pretty sure it's symmetrical. I mean, I'm not looking at the pattern piece. I could, but it's not much different. Sometimes the back is a little bit fatter and the front is a little more tapered, but this one looks symmetrical to me. So, no, they don't. So, sometimes they do, Nancy. I take that back. They will run them by me sometimes for the camera, or like the opium coat. I was like, you know, pick something. Well, we discussed a lot of things on that one. I can't remember what I was saying. Because sometimes we'll pick something and then it sells out before I go to sew it, or it gets really low. Because it may be like a month or more. And they don't know that's going to happen, you know? So sometimes I don't think they put it online quite yet before we do it. That happened with the toaster sweater fabric. That stuff was kind of flying out. This doesn't have any gathers, so I'm not going to spend more time on that one. But like these arrived totally as a surprise. Okay, brown sugar. Peanut. Dogs gotta go when they gotta go. And when I tell people, like when I like put my sponsorship stuff out, I just say, hey, you know, I don't need to pick the fabric, but can you just run it by me, because some fabrics won't work on the camera. Yeah, I know, Nancy, exactly. You know, and a good example of that is that Sew House 7 tea house dress that I made in the plaid. The camera hated that. I remember the camera would glitch because I think it couldn't focus on all those lines, you know? In fact, I don't even wear it on stream anymore. I don't wear it on stream. I do wear that dress pretty regularly too. I love it. But the plaid, you know, so things like that. And it's hard when you don't, like, I'm still new at this, so I'm figuring it out. And I think someone sending us fabric would probably not know that either unless they had spent time with cameras, you know. Yeah, exactly, Nancy. But they, you know what I like about Hearts is that they don't send us fabric that they're trying to get rid of. You know what I mean? Because there are those kinds of folks that are like, oh, you know, this fabric doesn't sell and it's really cute and it's true. And they're just like, why doesn't it sell? And so then, you know, having something sewn in it and someone seeing it, then it makes it go, oh, okay. Like that unicorn sweatshirt we made. Like all of us were kind of like, I don't know about that. Remember? And then when it was done, we were all kind of like, that's kind of cute. Oh, does it? This is jackalopes. Look at how different it is. That's pretty different. I can see what you mean, though. It does look like that. I am putting all the notches in that I forgot to put in. Because you need these to go the little collar point to, or sleeve point to sleeve point. Pull all my threads to the raw edge. I'm gonna put baste these in before I do the lining now. So, all right. So this needs to go like all the way down here. Let's get rid of some of these gathers. Right, almost there. All right. right, and these seams are all pressed open. I'm excited that now that this dress is done, I'm gonna, because I told Hearts, I said, hey, you know, I'm gonna sew that dress this week. Do you want me to wait to sew the, or to send you the opium coat to save on shipping? So they haven't actually gotten it yet and seen it. Yeah, right, Nancy, exactly. I know that fabric's really different. I know when you said that, I was like, oh, I can totally see that. But then when you see it in, like, next to it, it's a totally different color too. All right, so we have one on. We have our other one. Put all these threads towards the... Oh, you know what? I sewed that on upside down. Dang it. So I did an understitch on this one, and so the understitch needs to, I need to do it right sides together, and I didn't do that. Dang. What a bummer. Just when you think you're going fast. If I was sewing a lot of these dresses, I would probably find out where the shoulder would hit this little thing and add that as a notch too. Only if I was going to sew a bunch. I think it might speed things up. All right, let's take out, not that. That's the understitch. Okay, maybe I can pull this one. I pulled out that gathering stitch on the other side too. You know what I could do? I could take out the understitch. See, so right now if I remove this, see, look. If I remove this, I'm gonna have to gather it again. Either way, it's gonna be, I'm gonna have to do work. So I'm just gonna take this off and do the gathering. Sorry, guys. I forgot there was a right and a wrong side on this. That's why it's nice to have a contrast fabric sometimes. It's so easy. Oh, bummer, Rachel. I feel like something funny happens when a video gets to 2 hours long. It's a suspicion I have. All right, I have to do this one again. I could try just doing one row of stitches. Should we see how that goes? Live on the edge. We'll put it a little close to the seam line. All right. Doesn't have many gathers, so it shouldn't be too hard to deal with. All right, put this back on. Right sides together this time, since I understitched it and there was a wrong side. All right, let's see, where's that notch? Right about there. Okay, so I just need to let out a little tiny bit. Oh, bummer. Oh, Rachel, it's funny. It's really amazing how much we can do, isn't it? And then like something like that'll happen and sometimes I'll get frustrated and then I'm like, you know, none of these programs even existed. At one point, right? Like this is like all new stuff and it's kind of amazing what we can do. So I try not to be too frustrated when stuff like that happens, but It is kind of inconvenient. Hi, Vicky. How's it going? We just finished a dress. It's really cute. You want to see? We just finished this. Oh, we kind of looked at it like what it would be like without a collar. But it does have a collar and a facing and threads. It has this little like sleeve, and then it's bound, and it's a little skirt. And then it'll have a button opening in the back. And now I'm sewing a lined version with no collar, just kind of as a bonus, because I think you guys will be pleasantly surprised at how much faster it goes. So now we're going to sew, we're going to lay our lining on top here. We're going to sew the armholes and not the neck quite yet. We'll just do the armholes first. And let's do it from the outer one so we can see our seam line of our sleeve or whatever that is. So this is the reason why this works, is because it is has a back opening. If it had a front opening, it would work too. Because that's why you have to leave the side seams open. I'm just trying to get this all laid nice and flat, so none of the gathers get folded in on themselves. I have threads under here that I'm pulling. That's what I'm doing right now. I don't want them to come to the outside. So you do want to be aware of your side seam being the same length right here when you do it this way. So get your seam allowances the correct, right? Okay. So there's no binding on this version either, which is appealing for a lot of folks. Binding on this kind of armhole is pretty tricky to get it to lay flat, you know? You guys saw. Do you like your Surface? I hardly use my laptop, but I do have an iPad. I definitely don't use it enough, is what I think. I'd really like to play around with some, like, just playing around with graphics and repeats and understanding fabric. I don't want to design fabric, don't get me wrong. That's just not my future, but I'm always really intrigued by it. Just lining up all these raw edges. Maintaining my seam allowance. All right, rid of these threads that are bugging me. All right, so let's clip our armhole. It's so little I can barely grab it. That's a little bump right there. Maybe I can smooth that out if I remember. Especially down here at this little curve. It'll lay flatter. Yeah, I know, Nancy, exactly. And that's kind of why I'm showing this. Like, they are really easy as long as you know why certain parts of it doesn't work unless you have certain things in place. One of them is you have to have an opening. Shoulder, front, back, whatever. And easiest is the front or the back opening. Oh, yeah, that's great, Rachel. I totally agree. Okay, so I am going to... I'm going to do because I have the facing as all in one. So yeah, so now we're going to do this. So now the reason I don't do the side seam is going to be it's going to be apparent soon. So now we're going to sew all the way around the center front and the neck, 3/8 inch seam. And this should all be laying flat. I know your little sleeve thing's in there, but it should all be laying flat. Oops. If it's not, you'll get some weird pulling. And if you put the collar in there, that's fine too. This is, you know, you would attach the collar and then go around the perimeter because you don't have your facing. This is your facing. And what's great is that you'll be spending a lot less time fiddling with the facing and ironing. It does take more fabric though. So I'm more aware and interested in all of these bodices laying flat, right? Than it lining up along the edges. It's more important. Otherwise you'll get a weird pulling thing. All right, so clip this corner off because you're going to turn there. Clip your neck. The more clips you have, the smoother your curve will be. Get right up to that seam line. Always careful to clip near the seam itself though. That can lead to trouble. Twill and canvas can be the same thing. Twill is a diagonal weave, like denim is a twill weave. Canvas can be, you can have canvas twill and you can have plain weave canvas like duck. Does that sound familiar? Okay, so now see, we have our little lined bodice, right? Oops, we got our seam allowance turner there. We'll fix that. Now, the reason we didn't do our side seam is because if we had, we wouldn't be able to turn it right side out right now. It just, it wouldn't work if you have this in a closed loop, okay? You have to have that open right there, right? Yeah, pretty sure. Either way, you need the opening as well. You need an opening somewhere. I may be saying this wrong, I have to admit, but you definitely need an opening. This can't be all one right here. You can't have this solid and this solid, like this sewn together, and it turned right side out. There's no way. Yeah, there's stretch twill too. Yeah, be careful of that stretch. That's more common now. But now you can just pull the whole bodice through the little shoulder hole here to the right side. So there's something called a one-piece facing that was really popular for a while because there were a lot of sleeveless sundresses. And if you had a zipper opening or a button opening, you could do a one-piece facing, which is great because a one-piece facing, which you could actually do on this dress, a one-piece facing would look like, let's look at this up inside out. Do a little pattern drafting, tiny little pattern drafting thing. A one-piece facing would have a facing around the armhole and a facing around the neck, and you would join them. So it would be, the facing would look like this. It would go up like this and then around, down, back down here. And because this bodice is so tiny, it would literally start right here. It would go down here. So you wouldn't really do a one-piece facing on children's clothes because it's so tiny there. But on a women's dress, you know, it would go around and then around the armhole. And then you could, this would be not a non-issue because your facing would be solid right here, right? It would go all the way to the armhole. And to sew that would be the way we're sewing it now. You treat it like it's a lining, like a lined garment. All right, so now we have our... and it just is nice because then you don't have that to deal with the facing poking out to the outside, you know. So get all your points. You got your little sleeve. And now you can do your side seams. We can press things as well. So here we go. So now you're going to take, so here it is. This is the outside of the garment, back front sleeves, right? And now you're going to take these little side seams here. They're very little. Match them up to each other. One side. You can stagger your seam allowance, push one to the front and one to the back, or is that really what's going on here? Just one up, one to the left and one to the right. It won't matter because this is all going to get folded down right now after we sew it. So it's more important that you get that seam kind of lined up with itself right there than anything else. But it's going to be, it's going to kind of correct itself as well. So even if you don't get this seam lined up right there, when you fold it all down, the curve just happens anyway. So let's see, we're going to press this seam allowance open as well. We'll line this up with the waist. See that? So now you have a clean finished armhole, no binding, and you're ready to put your skirt on. You're already ready, you know? So that's what's happening there. I just did that side seam, opened up the seam allowance. That's it, it's done. I'm gonna pin this right here. All right, so now here's the other side. There's the little sleeve, side seam, and just put them right sides together. Front to front, back to back. Or outer to outer, lining to lining, sorry. Welcome back, Brown Sugar. I'm almost done with this bodice. The thread was stuck there. Oh, there it is. This fabric is much threadier, isn't it? I know, right, Nancy? It just looks so nice. So much nicer than dealing with the facing sometimes too. But if you don't have a lot of fabric, maybe in a larger size, the facing would be great, you know? So here we go. There's the armhole. Nice and clean finished. And not to mention, like, lining a whole garment looks pretty classy. Let's iron this. What was that notification? Oh, thanks for subscribing, Brittany. There we go. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna iron it all down, and then we'll talk about if we're gonna understitch or top stitch or whatever, because with a lining, it's not as critical to do either. So it's looking pretty cute, like without the collar, don't you guys think? This is the back, obviously. So much versatility with kids' clothes. Ooh, I'm getting hungry. Okay. I gotta focus. The time change has really messed with my hunger, you know? This is the right side. Sorry, I didn't do a contrast lining. It'd be a lot easier to tell, huh? All we have right now is that my sleeve is understitched, which you don't really need to do. We're just doing it as an experiment. Only reason you would be able to tell my outer from my lining now is the interfacing that is on the outer one right there, which doesn't even look wide enough, honestly. Okay. Kids' clothes, man. I need this salami pretty badly. So so tiny. So now you have this really nice clean finish bodice. I need to get my point here a little better when I have my awl handy. And you might start realizing, but my skirt's not going to be as clean finished as the bodice. And that is actually fairly acceptable when you're lining a bodice, especially with kids' clothes, right? But you can line it if you want. Just make your lining a little shorter than the skirt so that it doesn't hang below. There's lots of ways to do a lining if that's the kind that you do, you know. But really, you don't have to line it, so don't go overboard. But you could clean finish the waist seam with because you have this lining on your bodice now. I'm really ironing the heck out of this right now, I know. I'm just getting the sleeve just so nice. I can't see the chat right now, but I'll look in a second. But kind of see this is looking pretty cute. Except when you iron it like that. Oops. I feel like I don't know how to iron right now. This is so weird right here to me. Babies are so weird though. All right. We're looking at the back right here. Obviously I can't iron. I like it without the collar. I think it's really cute. Okay. Rachel left the dog out. Oops. Yeah, right, Vicky? My dogs do too. Yeah, you could do that, Rachel. Totally. I've done that. Just remember that the seam allowance of the lace of the underskirt, if you're not careful, it could be the wrong side could be facing out. You know what I mean? So, yeah, you could just sew another skirt in there, and have it hang out. Just remember that the seam allowances, if you want the seam allowances on the inside of the garment to be the right side, if they hang down, they're gonna show. So make sure you hem it, be tricksy. Plan ahead. All right, so here's your little bodice. So now with the skirt, do I really still need to iron this? I added the facing to the skirt, and I explained that at the beginning of the video. So this is all in one. So I forgot I need to iron this on here. This is the side with the angle. That just all of a sudden didn't look the same size, didn't it? But it's fine. All right, so put our interfacing here. So I did not do a lined skirt, but I did simplify it by just getting rid of the facing and just making it all in one. And then I'm going to show you another little tricksy thing on sewing it to the waist seam. Ironing is so ASMR, isn't it? Okay. Alrighty. So, if you wanted to kind of go that extra mile and have your skirt be nice and clean finish on the inside and you're not lining it, you could do a French seam, right? So let's do that. It's kind of hard to see the little angle, but I do have my little notch, which look how deep and pointy I did that one. to tell me that that's the top and that's the waist as well. So we have the smallest seam allowance to do a French seam, but it's a gathered skirt, so I'm just going to make it a little bit bigger. I can lose a little bit of the fullness of the skirt, right? There we go. No, that's exactly why I didn't want you to fall. So French seam, wrong sides together. So I'm going to show you a little trick on the sewing the waist seam, a couple little things. And then I think I'll kind of be done with all my tricks. Right? This is what I'm doing now. This looked wrong for a second. Because I did kind of a wide seam allowance. I forgot what I was doing right then. Sure what I was doing there. All right, let me iron this really quick. We are speed sewing this one, aren't we? All right, so just press the seam allowance one way. And then the other one, press it one way. And then press it on this little edge here. Oh, that's right. Samir went to France today. There's one. And here is the other. Okay, sorry, my machine pressed her foot. I left it up. And it got impatient. That's exclamation point, and I think noise is one of the commands. All right. Cool. All right, so let's finish our French seam here. It's a little wide. I haven't even used my serger once on this one, and I think it's going to look really nice inside. You know? Okay, so there's a couple ways you can sew the skirt here. So if you just want to do like a serged skirt seam, you don't really need it clean finished. You can gather up your skirt, line up your, your seam allowances, and then, oh, I didn't notch. Did I not notch? Oh yeah, there it is right there. You notch the fold line of your facing, and you're going to fold it across like that. And then you would sew on your waist seam, and then it would look like this. It would be nice and finished right there on your back like that, right? And then you could overlock this edge here or hem it like I've been doing, which I'll probably do actually. Or you can really clean finish it if you wanted by sewing your skirt only to one of the layers of your bodice, and then clean finishing it, stitching it over it. And I think I'm going to do that because that's harder and that sounds awesome and kind of fun, right? So let's hem the edge of the facing. No sergers today on this one. We're going to pretend like we don't have one. Okay. My husband went on his first, Rachel, you might appreciate this. He went on his first RV trip today in his new RV. It's a used RV, new to him, but he went on his first little camping trip today. He just left. It's like just warm enough, like it's gonna start getting really too cold to go do things like that. So I'm eager to hear about it. Making sure I'm sticking to my waist, so I don't need to put my gathering stitch all the way up to the edge, right? Just close enough. I'm gonna do one whole long one this time. We'll see how it goes. But we'll do 2 rows, okay? Ooh, so satisfying to sew long stretches. All right. Are you not down for that, Terry? Because I was pretty surprised he was really gung-ho on it. But it's like, I feel like some of his fondest memories are when he used to go camping with his dogs, just the 2 of them, before we met. I know, I was like, you can't take the dogs with you. All right, got my 2 rows. Put my stitch length back, so I keep forgetting to do it. Well, I'm not forgetting to do it, but I'm not getting it in the right spot. When I put my when I adjust the stitch length on this machine, and this is how my other Juki was too, like getting to the 0, I don't think I could do it. I think it would be too tight. Like it won't go past a certain point, you know? Yeah, I mean, so that's interesting because he does have a heater and all that. But I'm kind of curious, like, why, or what is it? There's something about it. He was like, yeah, it'll stay warm, but like in the snowier areas, he's, I think, a little more concerned. Okay, so getting over these little side seams here without breaking your gathering stitches, that's the trick, right? That's why I like to break them at the side seams. Yeah, because he has a little heater and air conditioning and all that. But he went to Shasta. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Shasta. It's a really big mountain here. Somewhere near there. One way to prevent your skirt edge right here from getting too thready is, if you can think about it, try and keep your thumbs below that edge. I noticed that a lot when I was making the pie slice and cupcake pin cushions. All right, so there's my halfway point. I didn't need to, this is a little overkill right here. Maybe I'll just utilize it though, and we should move it along the back. Yeah, I think that's what he's worried about, Rachel. That's exactly it. I think he's going to get solar. So this is like his first like real trial run, you know? Well, okay, so Terry, would you be okay with him going somewhere and you stay home alone? I mean, that sounds kind of heavenly to me. The camping part sounds fine too, especially if I took up like knitting or had a little hand project to do, you know? Hand sewing project. I have to keep busy. So we'll see. He's coming home tomorrow. He's been looking at those for like 2 years. He even bought a sprinter, but it would have had to be completely made into it. And then you love 11 time, me too. But he ended up just deciding he wasn't really up for doing that whole thing. I don't remember what his whole rationale was, so he sold it. And then he started looking again. It's honestly, I think, because he was looking that he noticed the one for sale right when the campfire happened, and he got that one for my brother. So that was really lucky because there was nobody able to find RVs. There was just no place for people to live and stay. You know, like even RVs were selling really fast and there was no spots to park RVs. So even if you had one, like people brought brand new ones and they didn't have anywhere to park it. What was that? Ah, thanks for following Moomin Pie 82. Moomin Pie. So he just lucked out that the guy, he noticed it right when it went on the market. All right, so there's my skirt. Let's see how I did guessing. All right, so we have, so I'm gonna do my little trick of doing it from the inside to the outside. So this is the outside, like this. So we're going to do this. So I'm gonna do wrong sides together. So I'm going to line up this edge here. And actually, I don't need to do my little fold trick. I just need to do this. Because I'm going to finish it myself. And I'm going to pin it from this side. I don't know what I'm thinking right now. So I'm going to put those wrong sides together, only on one layer of the bodice. That way I have complete control over how it'll look when I go to turn and finish it. Where's the side seam? Here's the side seam. Lining up the side seam right there. That goes there. Yeah, I think I'll go a few times too, Terry. You hate bugs? Why do you hate bugs? This office has quite a variety of bugs. I haven't, like there's more here than my old place. You can tell it had been empty because they had moved in a little bit. Oh, like you don't like the sounds in the dark, Terry. I get that. Am I doing this to wrong? I'm doing this to the wrong one. Yeah, sorry. I kind of figured that out real quick. Really, Rachel? Oh my gosh. And always wear a big band. Oh, bug band. I don't know, Terry. I mean, there's definitely been times where I'm like, what's that? But I've gotten used to there being so many birds in the bushes on the trail that that little noise when they move in the bushes, I'm always like, all right, so I'm going to fold this back the same amount as I'm folding this one. Where's my little notch? There it is. And then line it up to this edge here. You could actually sew some of this. Like I could do a little bit of this, like right sides together right there to get it really nice, So I might be able to do that. So let's see my distribution of my gathers here. Not too bad right here. This I can deal with. This I need a little bit more. So this is another reason why doing your gathers in sections, now I have to drag all my gathers through the back to get some onto this front skirt here, Even if you were to do it like center front to the center back, Did you move and scare the fox at all, or were you scared? He was rubbing on you. Was he marking your tent, or was he scratching himself? It was more annoying because you're trying to like if my dogs like lean up right against me in bed. I'm that one of those people now that has their dog sleep in their bed with them. I never plan on being that person, I promise. I fought it. And if I move, they're like, I'm not moving. Like if I adjust, they're not moving at all. It's all me. I have to adjust around them. Occasionally I'm like, no, move. Luckily the pug's easy to just kind of like, you know, woman handle. I'm like, you're going here, buddy. But Molly, man, she's like a sack of concrete for a 35 or 38 pound dog, man. She is solid. She's not moving. All right, I think I'm ready. Just making sure my gathers look pretty distributed here. I think I will try and do a little bit of my front to wrap around here. Like this. But I won't be able to go for very far. So we'll just do a little bit and then I'll stop and pick up and do some more. I hate it when I go to sew and I've unthreaded my needle. My neck gets sore sometimes when I'm streaming. Eventually you kicked him through the tent. There is a Friday the 13th video game, and just the idea of it scares the heck out of me. And so my friends played it, so they really liked it, and they were always laughing when they were playing it. And so I watched them play it once, and I was like, and I watched them play it so much that I finally just joined in and did it. So I just did the little bit right there. But I would it's just like, because you know it's supposed to be scary, I was always scared, you know, screaming, and it really was not that scary. It was just like the idea of it really scared me. All right, so this is the skirt, wrong side of the skirt to the right side of the lining. Because I'm clean finishing the waist, which is a bit extra. You don't really have to do that. You could have just serged it on like I did on the last one. That'd be pretty quick. And then zigzag the edge or serge it, and then top stitches the waist. He was just playing. Oh, foxes can be so stinky. That seems like my idea of what is English countryside, Rachel, that you have foxes gambling about, or, you know, like watching Midsummer Murders, and at the very beginning there's always the like fox that cries in the like opening credits, because that always drives my Molly crazy, that sound of that fox. She always sits up. Yeah, wildlife doesn't bug me either. I'm not afraid of, like, a mountain lion. I'm afraid of a mountain lion. I am downright, like, no joke, if I know there's mountain lions on the trail, I'm like, nope. Trails should be closed. I don't mess around with mountain lions. And bears. That's my level. I'm not afraid of sharks. I should be, but I'm not. Like, I don't encounter them. If I was in that kind of environment, I would be afraid of sharks, but it's not something that keeps me up at night. But mountain lions and bears for sure. And those were definitely a possibility where I've lived. The bears were. Here, mountain lions are a possibility. And I don't like that. I don't like worrying about mountain lions. They don't joke around. All right, here's my little center. I'm just wrapping it around. Let's hope my bodice is the right length. You know, like left and right. Because I made a big stink about that last time. Mama bears with cubs. Yeah. Oh, boar. I would be afraid of that. Those are definitely a California thing. I'm going to see my bodice length here first before I trim and tidy up that spot. It's pretty good. Oh yeah, it looks okay. All right, so let's trim or make our point a little better there and a little better here. The awl is so good for that. Yeah, it still didn't get all the way to the edge. Once it's overlapped, it's not going to show much because it'll blend in, but you could spend a little more time finessing that and getting that a little nicer. And there's some tricks you can kind of figure out. Oh, I just cut all my gathering threads. I'm just trimming. I'm making this little corner here a little nicer. Let's pull out some of the gathering threads if we can. Oh, you know what? I don't want to do that because I forgot I did the whole thing. I'm not going to do that. So let's just trim off our threads so they're not floating around in there. And I'm kind of in a hurry too. All right, so let's trim this little corner. Okay, so now we have our bodice on the inside, totally clean finished. This is the inside. It's the easier one. There's the facing turned back, like that. So now you're going to finish the bodice hem here, seam here, waist seam on top. You can just fold it down. I'm gonna go for it. So just make sure that everything is pulled nice and flat everywhere so you don't get any weirdness. And we will pin in a few spots like this. Like I said, this is going a little bit over and above, like clean finishing your bodice, but look at that. It'll be really nice on the inside, right? So it just depends on if this is what you're going for. And lining the bodice gives you this opportunity, really. You can't really do this on the other version. Just make sure, like, here's my center notch. Find your center notch on the piece you already sewed. Go away, Siri.
One option nearby is KFC on East 20th Street. Would you like that one?
No thanks, Siri. Go away.
The second is McDonald's on East Avenue. About a half mile to your north and it gets 1.5 stars. It's open today.
Siri,
from
no.
5:30 a.m. to 11 p.m. Does that one sound good?
What did I say? I have that turned off. Siri thinks I want soda. Okay, so here we go. This is pretty easy, right? Because your whole bodice is flat. They're the exact same pattern pieces. This is actually, you know, not a hard way to finish things. Yeah, that's true, Karen. That is definitely a legit issue for a lot of kids. Tags and itchy seams. There's even a condition for some kids. I've actually known I knew one kid for sure who had it. One, I wasn't sure if they had it or not, but she outgrew it, I'm pretty sure, or now she's just like able to manage it because she's like in her 20s. But it was a big deal. Okay, so here's my little bodice. And so I'm stitching on the outside because now I can control the way it's going to look, right? And you just try and get as close to that edge as possible. I know this isn't like the nicest. You could actually sew it the opposite, right? Right sides together to your skirt first and then turn under this edge, and you can hand stitch it. But if you're going to machine stitch it, it's really hard to make sure you catch it because you want to stitch it from this side. So I definitely have done a lot of this. Why are you doing that? Why aren't you going? Does your machine ever do that? I'm just double checking some things. Oh, it might be my stitch length. No, that looks good. Yeah, I like that. I may just need to start a little further away from the edge. Ooh, yeah, that doesn't look so good. All right, so I'm gonna use my awl to kind of pull that little folded edge down. Because I definitely want to enclose everything nicely. It's looking pretty good. I'm trying to stay really close to that edge. I would try and be consistent. Like just now I got a little too close. And you know, keeping your skirt down and pulling it, you don't really want any of those gathers to kind of fold up into there. I used to have a chronic problem with that, you know? It was kind of a bummer. It took me a while to just do the work so that it wouldn't happen. Oh, I should have pulled this corner out a little better. All right, so then now that's our clean finished bodice, and then this is how it looks on the inside. So, you know, I may have fallen off here, but it doesn't matter. That seam was sewn first, so it's not going to be an issue. And that is your very nicely clean, finished, fully lined bodice, you know, little dress. And then on the hem, what you can do is same thing like I did before when I folded or I sewed across the bottom right there, you know, do the same thing. And then I cut away. Note that I am cutting away up to there, and then I trim just the facing off right there. You want this to kind of go into the facing. And on this side, I'm going to measure and make sure I get the same length. This is my opportunity. I'm actually going to look at my bodice now too, because I haven't really been checking that. Oh, not bad. Look at that. What's not good is my machine really got hung up on this start point right here. It didn't damage it. It did on this feed dogs, but not on the outside, but still, it's kind of a bummer. All right. So that's where I want my fold to be. What is this thread? There we go. Right here. And we are almost done. I've got a little needle hole on my facing, or my, yeah, inner facing there. And I'm not using the serger, so on this one, I'm gonna roll hem it. All right, so that's that, the little one-piece facing right there. So it's still clean finish. Like I said, you can line your skirt, but I don't really find it to be necessary. It does make it a heavier dress and more fabric. Reversible, someone said reversible, and I feel like you could do that. Reversible stuff is always like, is it really reversible? But something like this, you know, is if you can figure out the way to do the buttons and buttonholes, you'll be good, you know. All right, so you got to kind of peel this back here and just make sure you stay like, you know, you really want to make sure this line looks pretty good here. You could iron it and really fuss with it. Right now it's kind of resisting me, so I'll fold that under a little nicer. Dang it, stop resisting me. Oh, there we go. Now it's going in there. I'm going to try and go kind of up to where the facing is and not too much past it. All right. And I'm just going to go for it. Cotton hems that are pretty straight and with not a lot of angle are pretty easy to not have to pin. I'm rolling up my side seam here. This is my go-to point. And then I just tuck my finger in here like this. And so, and it's the same thing across here. I'm going to find my halfway point, tuck it in there, get rid of these threads that are kind of plaguing me from the thready edge of this fabric, you know. Poppers would make it reversible, really? How do you snap it? Are they like a snap you could do that with? That's cool. That'd be great. All right, and then we get to the side seam here. Trying to be consistent in my width. Like this, see how it does this? I would really like to do that, you know, trim that a little bit. But we're going quick. This one's a little longer. Guess I didn't gauge my halfway point as good. In a factory, 12 inches is if you're going to do a really long seam and the sewist needs notches, they make you do it 12 inches apart because that's about how far they can hold. There we go. Look at all these threads though. It's amazing. That Japanese cotton is so nicely woven, you know. This is definitely a little lighter weight. It's not quite a lawn. Not quite a quilting cotton. So I'm just looking at this here, making sure it's nice and square. When it's not, you'll know why I spend so much time trying to do that, because it is kind of a drag, you know. All right. Actually, maybe I'll put my facing back like this, tack it down, and that's what I should have done over here too. Ew, I did a bad job right there. Yeah, I mean, on a straight cotton hem like that, or anything that's straight cut, like on the grain like that, you can just crank on the hem. You could even iron it first and it would still be fast, you know. Let me do it from this side. That's a little better. Kind of. I think I need a new needle. All right. Dress number 2 is done. Fully finished in there. French seams. Fully lined bodice. No collar. Pretty cute. I mean, you know, really different look than the other one. I mean, these two dresses look like completely different dresses, you know. This one just is like so little. It just feels really little too. I don't know why. Like something about the collar makes it feel little. Yeah, right? Great dresses, yeah. They're very versatile. Like I said, you could leave off the sleeves. I feel like I'm selling this dress or something. I'm not paid to do that. I just think from a kid's clothing perspective, it's great to have something that's pretty versatile. Some folks aren't into a really like ruffly gathered look, you know, or like these classic details like a Peter Pan collar. Some people don't like doing the bias. And like I said, if even if you don't have kids in your life, sewing kids' clothes is a really, really great way to do a lot of little skills on a little garment. And guess what? You didn't use a lot of fabric. You didn't take as much time. And if you don't have anyone to give it to, big deal then, right? You can donate it or something. So I totally recommend doing kids' clothes, even if you don't have kids in your life, you know? So it's great. Yeah, these are really great. They look, you know, sewn very different. This one's stitched. You could top stitch this. I love a top stitched waistline personally. And I really like that anytime you top stitch something down, it's one less place you'll probably have to iron because it's been like beaten into submission already. So these both take buttons and buttonholes along the back. I will admit I'm not thrilled about that because it's not comfortable for a baby to lay down, you know. It could carry. I think using a lighter weight fabric underneath, and maybe understitching it, because I didn't do that. We trimmed and made an undercollar instead. I think understitching it would be a good idea. It's not that it's not laying very flat more, it's that it's so thick. You see that? It doesn't look like it. On the camera I can see what you're seeing, but you know. Yeah, it does kind of wing out, huh? It's pretty narrow, and this is pretty thick. This is pretty thick too. Well, making it lighter weight would help, I think. And then another strategy for making it like, not a strategy, but another idea. Because all the little dresses I used to make, this wasn't open down here. It was a overlap bodice, and then this was sewn together from like here down, you know, and then there's like a little like placket with a bias loop, not a loop, slit. I'm too hungry, so I would definitely look into that. The truth is, you guys, like this bodice is pretty big going this way. You might not even need this down here to be open. This is enough of a opening to get over a baby, right? So that is something to think about. You could make your skirt on the back skirt on the fold, and then you overlap your bodice and sew it into the skirt seam. And then you wouldn't have to do the buttons and buttonholes down here. So, or sew it. But I would try it first, so. Very cute. So thanks to Hearts for giving us this little project. And next week, we're going to be doing some more kids' clothes. No, next week we're doing our bodice sloper. Next week, after that, we're going to do more kids' clothes. We're going to do the Elm t-shirt and the Willow Pinafore by Poppy and Jazz. And my jammy top in knit. And then next week, we're doing our sloper. So the measurements will be up there really soon. But Wednesday, we're going to do them together. So watch on Instagram. Tuesday, I usually post the schedule. It'll definitely be up on Tuesday. You'll be able to get the measurements on the website. And it'll be a how to draft your basic blocker sloper. And there'll be a link to the measurements on there. So, sorry I didn't finish it. Between my printer, getting a new printer, a new iron, and the anniversary of the campfire memorial, I just didn't put the finishing touches on it yet. So, and it's already almost 3 o'clock here. What? I've been live almost 4 hours. We made 2 dresses. So, yeah, right, Nancy? Yeah. I got the same one, Vicky. I got the Rowenta, the professional. What's the number on this thing? Can't remember. You get it at Target. I decided, my rationale I talked about at the beginning is I wasn't really going to set out to buy an iron yesterday. I was going to do a little research. And I just decided, you know, once I started looking at some of them, they were like, people who are crafters and quilters really love the Oliso Home. And I'm not a quilter or crafter. I am a sewer for clothing. So the steam function is really important on the Rowenta. And that Oliso, it sounds like it's really great as well. But I just felt like I don't really need an iron that's that expensive. I would love to try one and see if it really upped my game. But at the same time, not everybody can afford even a $90 iron. And a $20 iron, I used one of those for years. They were really great. So I don't really feel like I have to have the like biggest, latest, greatest thing. But maybe someday I will. And that's what I figure, like, if I end up getting to upgrade to a really nice iron, I'll take this one home because my other one at home's failing too. I've had them a long time. The one at home I've had a long time. And then the one here I probably had for 5 or 6 years. And it gets way more use than most people's do. Plus it gets dropped. I think that's the problem with it. It got cracked, so. I like this iron. It's heavy. It's got a nice plate, and the steam's great. So it gets hot fast. So, all right, you guys. I'm starving. I'm gonna go. I'm excited to do the basic block and the sloper next week. We're gonna iron on Wednesday, or measure on Wednesday. We're not ironing anything on Wednesday. We're gonna measure ourselves on Wednesday. Thursday, we're gonna draft the front. And Saturday, we're going to draft the back. And then you guys are going to sew them up, see what you think. And then in December, we're going to go over them. And then we're going to draft the sleeve. So we're going to chip away at this. And we're going to have basic blocks of ourselves. I'm going to do the little dress form in here just so we can talk about fit things too. So I think this is going to be the start of something really great. So I hope you'll join us in doing it. And, you know, draft your own basic block or bodice. So, well, have a great weekend, you guys. Have a fantastic weekend. I hope the weather is great for you. It's getting cloudy here, which I am down for all the weather. I like all kinds of weather. And I will see you on Wednesday. Look for the schedule on Tuesday. Everything will be posted up there. I don't work Sunday and Monday, so I'm going to scurry and get it all done on Tuesday. So, bye, guys. Awesome. I'm glad you guys are looking forward to it. It'll be great. So, see you guys soon. Yeah, Rachel, have a great week. And thanks again, you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys soon. And thanks to Hearts again. So, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.